Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you can hear me and hopefully you can see me. I'm not in my usual setup. I'm, of course, home for Christmas, as I've said over on Twitter. So I've got a very temporary setup and I have a slight worry that things are going to go terribly wrong. So please let me know that you can hear me and that you can see me. Belated Merry Christmas. Of course, Christmas is over, but I know a lot of people maybe don't celebrate. But if you do celebrate, I know Boxing Day is quite a big day. I'm spending today with my family after doing about a 3-hour live stream. So yeah, let me know that you can hear me and see me. Let me know if I'm too loud, too quiet. And hopefully the stream will go swimmingly today. And hopefully we're going to put together a perfect team that's going to get us loads of green arrows and get back into the top 1K. So there we go. We can see you loud and clear. We want the bald head. Oh, it's already starting. Good God. Show team. Oh, show team gang in full force. We can see, we can hear you. Good to see you, Andre. Good to see you, Zodiac. Yeah, and say hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know what you're currently doing. Again, sorry if the camera or the audio is slightly off. It's just what we're putting up with for the next couple of weeks whilst I'm home. Everything is perfect. You're perfect. Thank you very much. Oh, loads of questions already about Bruno Fernandes. Maybe is he worth going for? We'll discuss all of that. Don't you worry. Hi, Ross. I missed you. I missed you too, Soldier Boy. Thank you for being here. Who else we got in the chat? Got some familiar names and faces. Got Liam in here. Lukey Boy, good to see you. Dave, Marcus. It looks like I'm looking down more than usual. Basically, the only place I can put my camera is like it's about a meter above my head, so I've got to like lift my head up to look at the camera. Remove that cape. What cape? It's just an overshot. I probably will. I'm probably going to get sweaty at some point. Good to already almost 1,500 people here. That's good to see. Good to see. Right. Do you know what? Let's waste no time. Let's waste no time. I've missed you all very much, but we all know why you're here. And this is to discuss our teams. And this is an interesting one because normally when we return from any sort of break, some people play their wildcards. But in this case, obviously, like everyone's forced to play their wildcards. So it is a slightly strange one. And it almost feels like the start of the season. But I said over on Twitter, I actually think this has been... Let me know in the chat, by the way. Let me know, do you think this has been significantly harder than Game Week 1? I felt like Game Week 1... pretty much every decision was not made for me, but I feel like most decisions were fairly straightforward. It was basically Bailey versus Neto, and then which £5 million midfielders go for, a defender. And I went for Trippier and Bailey, did I go for? And I felt like but the rest of the decisions were fairly straightforward. I feel like this is really tricky. I'm actually seeing quite a few different teams, and especially the midfield. There are probably like 12 to 15 midfielders I want. So with all that being said, cool, the first button works. This is currently where I'm at with my team. So I can talk you through it, and no, I am not locked in. And yes, I could definitely be convinced by the chat to change absolutely everything across the next couple of hours. But this is currently where my team's at. So places where I don't think it's going to change massively is Kepa, James, Castagna, Trippier, Martinelli, Salah, Foden, Rashford probably aren't going to change, and Darwin and Haaland aren't going to change massively. The places where I'm sort of going back and forth is, do I want to go for a 3-5-2? Do I want to go for a 3-4-3? And then do I want Cancelo or not? So I'm going to show you what sort of that looks like in my team right now. Oh, God, my microphone's blocking my screen. The normal setup is not here, so we'll make do. Right. So the first easy decision to discuss is basically Andreas and Martial could be, and I'm still very, very, very tempted by this, either Trossard or Almiron, and then Greenwood. So almost like a 3-5-2. This is the first thing that I'm thinking about and discussing. Is this almost like switching formation? It's exactly the same money. So as you can see, 0.8 million in the bank regardless. Trossard and Greenwood versus Martial and Andreas. Right? So that's the first. Do you know what? Let's run a poll. This is the first question I want to ask you guys in chat. I'm sorry. Basically, I'm just going to use the chat. You know, this is what you're here for, is to help me. I'm not here to help you. You're here. No, we'll help you with your questions in a second. But I think it's nice to talk about my team so that you can see where my head's at. You can see where my head's at. Which option? Who's that? Oscar. Mr. FPL Focal asking if I'm going with Ederson or Cancelo. Ederson at the moment. Right. What was it? So Martial and Andreas. And then Trossard and Greenwood. Let's see where your heads are at with that first poll. I feel like Almiron is being slept on. You're probably right, you know? So it could be, I suppose, Almiron rather than Trossard. It doesn't have to be Almiron. It doesn't have to be Trossard, sorry. I guess it's more basically 3-5-2 or 3-4-3. But obviously the 3-5-2 means I drop Martial, which I don't think I want to do. I think at the moment I'm leaning Martial and Andreas. I think Andreas is obviously a fantastic option. He's got the double in game week 19. Let's just get there. God, I feel so out of touch with the stream, and it's been such a long time. Palace, Southampton, a double, then pretty tricky fixtures. But I mean, you're not going to play him most weeks. I think the only week where I plan on playing him is game week 19. And then Martial, obviously, for the next... It feels right to have Martial for Forest, Wolves, Bournemouth. And then in game week 19, I can either switch to Mitrovic if I want to, or maybe around game week 20, I can switch to Wilson, because I've got 0.8 million in the bank. So it's a tricky one, isn't it? Marcus says Martial won't ever get beyond 70 minutes where Trossard could play up front. That's absolutely true. I do believe that. I don't think Martial will get too many minutes. I think he'll start most games, but again, he won't see 90. People are asking, is Martial going to start? My opinion is Martial will start pretty much every game. But as Marcus has said there, I don't expect Martial to regularly get more than 70 to 75 minutes. I think around 70 to 75, what we see is probably Garnacho coming on, and then Rashford becoming the striker is probably what we'll see. We could even see a Langer coming on for Martial if the game's wrapped up. The thing is, Manchester United, I'm a Manchester United fan, we just don't have that many options to play as a striker. We've got pretty much Rashford and Martial. I don't think he regularly would trust a Langer, and I don't think Rashford's best position is as a striker, so it's really Martial. The only thing I would note is Manchester United are heavily considering Gakpo apparently still, so that could be an option in the January transfer window. But to be honest, January the 3rd is game week 19. You're probably only going to have Martial for these 3 weeks anyway. So unless Manchester United sign and start Gakpo by the 3rd, it's unlikely, right? So I think you're fine for the 3 weeks that you want Martial. Yeah, as Frosty's just said there, until you sign Gakpo in January. Absolutely. If we sign a striker, then obviously there's going to be rotation there. But I don't think you want to keep Martial long term anyway. Are we overlooking Harry Kane? Yeah, I did discuss this. Harry Kane could be the premium to go for, and it opens up another midfield spot. So if you went for Kane instead of Martial, you've then got a midfield slot. So I could go for, like, rather than Salah and Martial, I could go for like Kane and Trossard. I just think I prefer the premium midfielders. The 3 isn't bad. The 3 premium drafts are quite nice, but I don't think they're my favourite. By the way, we did get a new member, Terence. Thank you for becoming a Rap Tier 2 member. I do really appreciate that. And Ross Wheeler, fantastic name, Ross, says Wilson and De Gea or Havertz and Kepa. Honestly, Ross, I think I would go Wilson and Kepa. I'd go for the cheaper, the cheaper keeper and the cheaper striker. So you save a bit of money there as well. So my favourite combination would be Wilson and Kepa there probably. Apologies if I have to keep muting to cough. I'm still not very well, but we'll see what we can do here. How about Mount? Yeah, what do we think of Mount, chat? Mount's an interesting one, right? So I didn't include Mount in any drafts. I didn't even discuss him in my team selection video. And there were loads of people that were saying, why are you not going with Mason Mount? I just don't understand it. Mason Mount's a great option. So I put Mason Mount in my team. And then everyone on Twitter went crazy. Mason Mount's a terrible option. Like, you've fallen off. Like, you're a terrible FPL manager for picking Mount. And I mean, I know, obviously, everything on social media, YouTube, Twitter, is going to be polarized opinions. You're going to get people that love an option. Like, if I said, what do you think of Martial? You get some people that love Martial, some people that don't like Martial. I understand that. But with Mason Mount, it feels so much more extreme. You've got people that love him, think he's a great option, and then people that don't. And I mean, let's type in Mount. Let's get how he's done up for this season. Midfielders. Let me make sure my team's still central. Yeah, cool. That's fine. So Mason Mount, like, he did this last season as well. Absolutely nothing every single week. And then he just gets some random monster scores. Last season, did he get like a 19 pointer and like a 24 pointer? Mason Mount just pops up with these absolute monster scores. But then for the rest of it, he's literally done nothing. Outside game week 10 and 11, the highest he's got is 5 points. But the fixtures are really nice. Bournemouth, Forest and Fulham in the next 3, including an extra fixture against City. Palace at home and Fulham at home over either side of Liverpool. Chelsea's fixtures are unbelievable, but I just still don't know if Mason Mount's the one. Obviously, if you get Mason Mount for these kind of games here, then he's fantastic, right? He's exactly what you want. But you could quite easily get him for a run of games like that. So for now, Mason Mount's not in my team, but I don't dislike him. And I think a lot of people are maybe just saying Mason Mount's terrible because it seems to be a bit of a thing, even with like Chelsea fans, even if you ignore FPL. Chelsea fans seem to hate Mason Mount as well. Ross, do you think Laporte is being overlooked as an option at 0.5% ownership? Yes, probably. If I were to go for a City defender that was not Cancelo, let's ignore Ederson, let's say an actual defender, I think Laporte is better than both Akanji, Ake, and Walker. I think I would say Laporte is the best defender outside of Cancelo. So that's my opinion on it. But to be honest, it's very difficult to try and predict the City lineups. Even the likes of like a Kevin De Bruyne sometimes will get dropped when you don't expect it. Omri says, your thoughts on going straight out with bench boost for game week 17? I still have my free hit and future double game weeks. We're all happy you're back. And remember to get Isak once he's back for the big W on the whole season and top 10 finish. Thank you very much for the kind words. I probably think that I wouldn't use bench boost in game week 17. Someone asked me this yesterday. My reasoning for not using a game week 17 bench boost is not necessarily because I don't like the bench. It's more so that I think you might need your bench because we've got issues with illness like Kepa, James have just come back from illness. We've got like Harry Kane word on that he might be fatigued. People are saying Cancelo might not start. Mason Mount just coming back from an injury. There are quite a few players that I think due to like World Cup fatigue, due to it being like the festive season and the festive period as well, I just got a feeling that you might need at least one of your bench players. And as soon as you lose one bench player, let's say Kepa doesn't start, Mendy starts and you get Ward off the bench. Or let's say Mason Mount doesn't start and you get like Andreas off the bench. As soon as you lose one player, that bench boost becomes a much weaker chip. Of course it does. That makes sense. So for me, I'm not a massive fan of the bench boost myself. What do we think, chat? Is anyone else considering the bench boost? I don't hate it. But I just think there's a big chance, especially in game week 17, but just over this busy period, that you might need your bench. Hi, Ross. Tempted by Ederson over Cancelo. Is there any other point of Cancelo other than covering the £7 million defender price point? And if not João, KDB and Foden over Ederson. I think the two major advantages for Cancelo is he's absolutely nailed on in the City defence, I think, apart from maybe 17 because of the World Cup. But I think he's nailed on. He started pretty much every game this season. I think he's literally started every game this season, has he, in the Premier League? I think, and like you said, covering that expensive price point, just in case, let's say Liverpool really improve defensively and you want Trent or Robertson, you've got that move there. So I think those are the major two advantages, but I'm still not convinced he's worth 7.4 million, is he now? Even if you bought him at 7, he's just not delivering, and the stats don't necessarily suggest that's going to improve. And I read a thread from a Manchester City fan that was suggesting that the role this year that he's playing isn't going to change, and he's going to continue to be slightly more defensive. So yeah, I think like you're saying, the major advantage of Cancelo is probably the price point and the fact that you're getting a nailed City player, but you get that in Ederson for £1.6 million cheaper. So yeah, it's a difficult one. Hi Ross, glad you're back. How important is Cancelo in your opinion? So I've just discussed that, especially considering the extra 2 to 2.5 million, e.g. going for a 3 million or rotating a third defender. Yeah, at the moment, I've got no Cancelo, but I've not actually confirmed that transfer. That's why I'm on this screen, because I've got money tied up in Cancelo. And if I make a last minute decision to keep Cancelo, I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose value there. So at the moment, I'm leaning no Cancelo, as you can see on your screen. I don't think he's critical, but I do think he's arguably one of the best defenders in the game. It's just whether you think, like you say, you can use that extra like 2.5 million elsewhere. Rate my team: Kepa, Trippier, James, Cancelo, Ødegaard. Ødegaard's an interesting one. Salah, Rashford, Almiron, Darwin, Haaland, Martial. That's the template, barring Ødegaard instead of Martinelli. So you've literally got the template 11, but you've got Ødegaard. So yeah, I think that's an absolutely fine team. So most people seem to prefer the Martial and Andreas combination, so a 3-4-3. We've got some different opinions in the chat about Cancelo. So Marcus just said, Cancelo isn't worth the cash, but is Ederson worth his price point? Potentially not. How can you convince yourself to triple up on Manchester United? That's a very easy question to answer. That's how I can convince myself to triple up on Manchester United. No, that's not intentional, Frosty. The chat's moving very quickly. I'll get to them. Anton says, Foden or Saka? I'm just about leading Foden if Foden starts regularly. Obviously, if we get any rotation, then Saka's going to be worth it. So I'm banking on Foden starting in a similar fashion to how he did earlier on in the season, which could be false. He might not do that. Kane or Salah, Foden or Saka. Again, I'm just about leaning Foden. Is Walker a good option? I've seen quite a few people predict Stones to start at right back in game week 17. It looks like Walker's not as nailed as some people think, due to Stones, due to Ake being able to play left back, Cancelo playing right back. So I'm not a massive fan of Walker. I think he's close to Ederson's price. Was he 4.8 Walker? In a similar way to Ederson, he's probably got a 6-point ceiling most weeks. I prefer the likes of Dunk, Ben White, Luke Shaw, Estepinian, Castagna. I prefer most other sort of 4.5 to £5 million defenders as instead of Walker personally. Can I see the attack? Is the attack not showing on the screen? No, the attack's showing on the screen. That's my team. I've got 0.8 million in the bank. The reason for 0.8, before I go on to discussing why I've gone with such a stacked team, and the bench is quite stacked, is I might want to do Martial to Wilson in game week 20. Who did Newcastle have in 20? Yeah, see, this run here, I might do Martial to Wilson for this run. And then the other reason is I might want to do Rashford to Trossard. And the other reason is I might want to do something like Castagna to Dunk. So I've left that 0.8 in the bank purposely. It's another reason that I've gone that I'm thinking of going for Ederson ahead of Cancelo. Is I really think if you can, 0.5 million in the bank is really nice. The reason I say that is mainly that Rashford to Trossard move. I think Ben Crellington a 75% likelihood that Brighton get a double game week in game week 21. So I think Rashford to Trossard in 21 is going to be super popular. I don't think you don't want to have to make a downgrade elsewhere to be able to afford that. It'd be nice to be able to do that in one move. So I think leaving, because that's 0.4 from 6.7 to 7.1. But let's say Trossard goes up or Rashford goes down. I think 0.5 is a really nice amount to leave. Like I said, that also allows you to do like a defensive transfer, something like a Castagna up to Dunk, or maybe if you've got like a Patterson, you could go Patterson to Estepinian. So there are loads of options that you've got there. That's why I want to try and leave as much money in the bank as possible. And I'm not going to spend that money just for the sake of spending it. I did think about maybe going for Gabriel instead of Ben White, because I do think Gabriel's a much better option than Ben White. His attacking data is much better. But I don't want to spend that money unnecessarily, basically. So let me discuss this whole Ederson Cancelo business. If I go for Cancelo, it would be Ward instead of Ederson, and then it would be Bueno instead of Shaw, and then Cancelo instead of White. It leaves me one slightly weaker bench option, and it means I don't have any Arsenal defenders, but it does mean that I have Cancelo, right? So that's the major advantage, is that I have Cancelo on my team, and I think I have 0.4 million in the bank as opposed to 0.8. Now, you might look at this team and think, Ross, you've got a terrible benching headache every single week. Apart from Andreas, who's obviously going to be on your bench, you've got 5 strong defenders there. How on earth do you bench? That would be a great question if you're asking that question. They rotate basically perfectly. Oh my God, I can't see what I'm doing. Let me just make sure I've answered all the super chats. I definitely haven't. Have you discussed Mount versus Foden yet? I just think Foden's a better option, personally. 4,000 viewers and only 266 likes. Wow. Firstly, thank you for being every one of the 4,000. But yeah, drop a like on the stream. Make sure you subscribed as well. Let's try and hit 55,000 subscribers in this stream. Why not? Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to drop a like on the video as well. Thank you. Triple City Attack. I love Triple City Attack. I think Triple City Attack is so nice. It's just I want Salah instead of De Bruyne. Right, so my 5 defenders, if I go for Ederson, would be James, Trippier, Shaw, Castagna, and White. Let me show you the rotation. Hopefully you can see this. Actually, let me see if I can zoom in. Right. So this is game week 17. The 3 defenders that I would go for are James against Bournemouth, Trippier against Leicester, Shaw against Forest. 18 would be exactly the same. James, Trippier, Shaw. So 2 weeks in a row, it would be that back 3. In game week 19... I would bring Castagna in for Fulham at home because Trippier's got Arsenal. So it would be James against Fulham, Castagna against and Man City, the double game week. Castagna against Fulham, and then Shaw against Bournemouth. In game week 20, Shaw comes out because he's got a tricky fixture, and back in comes Trippier. So I've got James, Castagna, and Trippier. Game week 21, I do have James against Liverpool, but yeah, there are James, Shaw, and White all have a slightly tricky fixture here. So I'd have to play one of them. So let's say I go for Reece James because he's the most attacking. Castagna against Brighton at home, a decent fixture for Castagna. And then Trippier against Crystal Palace away. Again, in this week, I might bring in a Brighton defender anyway if they get a double game week. And there are rumours that Arsenal could have a double game week in 21, in which case I would play Ben White. So 21 doesn't look great, but I think I'll be fine because there'll probably be doubles. Game week 22, I've got James against Fulham, Shaw against Palace, and Trippier against West Ham, all at home. Going into game week 23, I've got James against West Ham, Shaw against Leeds, Trippier against Bournemouth. I'm not going to keep going with it, but you get the picture. Those 5 defenders rotate perfectly, and it means that each week, for example, this week I've got Castagna and White on the bench. Every week, if James misses out or if any of my other players miss out, I've got a really decently strong bench. Yes, it will mean that most weeks I'll have some points left on the bench, but I don't think points left on the bench is necessarily a terrible thing. I think it hurts, and psychologically it doesn't feel great, but there aren't any real negatives to points being left on the bench unless there's a good chance that you would have played those players. If you've got a fifth, for example, Ederson versus Kepa this week, if I leave points on the bench there, that hurts because you could argue playing either of them. I don't think you can make many arguments to play Castagna or White ahead of the defenders I've got at the moment, maybe ahead of Trippier. So I don't think bench points are a huge issue. I think it just hurts a little bit, like I said, psychologically. But that's basically the reasoning for going for 5 pretty strong defenders there. Hopefully that makes sense. And that's why Castagna's still in the team, because Castagna rotates really nicely with the other 4 defenders. And I also think Leicester were pretty decent defensively in the sort of second half in the lead up to the World Cup. Let me go back to my team then. Sorry, just catching up with the chat. Is Shaw nailed? I think Shaw's relatively nailed. I don't think he's 100%, but the thing is, because Dallow's out injured at the moment, I think Malacia will play right back, which means Malacia will still be getting game time. Malacia is the only other player that can play left back for us. We could play Aaron Wan-Bissaka right back, but I think it'll be Malacia. So basically, yeah, I think Shaw will be relatively nailed for the time being. And I think even when Malacia doesn't play right back, I still think he's relatively nailed. Salah and Martial or Bruno and Darwin? I prefer Salah and Martial personally. Oh. Love the Foden pick, but I've been burnt before. What are your thoughts on Luke Thomas and Kulusevski's punts? Luke Thomas feels like a decent short-term punt, and I don't mind Kulusevski again. Probably slightly short-term, but I think they're both fine. Yeah. I don't really want to use defensive transfers. This is why I've got unless it's attacking a double, like bringing in a Brighton defender. That's why I like this defence. I don't think I need to change this defence ever, unless I desperately want Trent or Cancelo in. Few people are asking, well, how do I get Cancelo in if I want to, or how do I get Trent in? It's not easy, and that's the major downfall. It would probably be one of Darwin or Foden down to a much cheaper option. So like Foden down to Almiron, and then upgrading one of the defenders would probably be the way that I would have to go about getting Cancelo. So it's not easy. And again, that is the major disadvantage to this, is that it's going to be pretty difficult to get a premium defender in. Lots of people saying Foden's a minutes race. I absolutely appreciate that. De Bruyne is probably a better pick due to minutes. I think if Foden plays a similar amount of minutes to De Bruyne, I prefer Foden. I think Foden's got much better expected goals. De Bruyne's expected goals is only something like, I don't know if it's exact, it's about 0.19, 0.2. De Bruyne's expected goals are extremely low. He doesn't get many goal-scoring opportunities. He obviously creates chances left, right, and centre, but I want my players to be scoring goals. Like, De Bruyne has to get 2 assists pretty much to match 1 Foden goal. So that's why I prefer to go for goal-scoring midfielders. That's why I like my midfield. I think Martinelli, Salah, Foden, Rashford, they're all goal scorers. Even Darwin and Martial and Haaland. I think all of my attackers are more so goal scorers than they are creative players. I don't mind creativity. It's okay, but I think the likes of Mount, the likes of De Bruyne, they're great, but normally for assist. Hey, Ross, no question. I'm just glad you're back and feeling better. Merry Christmas, mate. Thank you very much, Mr. FPL River. I appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat. Ross, how do you feel between Martial and Wilson? I'm struggling as I've been at Boxing Day test in Melbourne and way too drunk to make decisions. Oops. No worries, Will. I think long term I prefer Wilson, short term I prefer Martial, but you do have to consider that extra 0.7 million. 0.7 million is quite a bit of money, and I think that I could get Wilson instead of Martial, but then I've only got 0.1 in the bank. I don't have the option to go from Rashford to Trossard. I don't have the option to go from Castagna to Dunk. It really limits me. So I think that's the reason I've got Martial, and the fixtures are just so good for the next 3. Like, they are playing, I think they are the 3 worst defenses in the league: Forest, Wolves, and Bournemouth. Maybe Wolves aren't right down there, but they're close. So it looks too good for me. So I think that's why. Sorry if you can hear my chair squeaking, by the way. Chat is moving extremely quickly, by the way. I'm trying to get through to as many sort of different questions as I can. What are your thoughts on Bruno Fernandes? I like Bruno Fernandes a lot. I do. I like Bruno. But I just think Rashford and Martial at 6.7. They're both exactly... Is Rashford still 6.7? Yeah, they're both 6.7 million. It feels so cheap when you think, what is Bruno, 9.3 or something like that? God, I don't even know where Bruno is. Fernandes, 9.8. He's just too expensive for me. 3.1 million more than the other two Manchester United options. And Bruno's a similar player to De Bruyne. I'm not saying Bruno won't score, and Bruno is on penalties, which is a major advantage. He's more of a creative threat, Bruno, than he is a goal scorer. And whereas Rashford and Martial are more so goal scorers. Nutmeg, Mr. Nutmeg FPL has been a member for 15 months. Merry Christmas and glad you're feeling well. Sorry if you've already discussed, just jumped in. What starts/minutes will Garnacho get from Game Week 17 onwards? I would be very surprised if Garnacho starts more than 1 in 3 or 4. I think our front three is Martial, Rashford and Antony. And I think Garnacho might get the odd start, maybe ahead of Antony or Martial, just to give one of them a rest, depending on how Antony feels post-World Cup and depending on how Martial feels, obviously having not gone to the World Cup and maybe not being fully match fit. I think Rashford starts all of them, and I think Martial and Antony start most of them as well. What do we think of my strategy then, guys? Be honest, going without Cancelo. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to show you. Is I wanted to show you the rotation for Ederson and Kepa. So just look at the keeper. Let me zoom in. Just look at the goalkeeper, right? So Game Week 17, Ederson. I think you could definitely make justification. I might play Kepa against Bournemouth. That's a slightly tricky one. And then in 18, you've got Ederson against Everton at home. In Game Week 19, you've got Kepa, double game week. Then in Game Week 20, you've got Ederson for the double game weeks. You've got back-to-back double game weeks with your keepers. You've then got Ederson against Wolves at home. You've got Kepa against Fulham at home. You've got Ederson for the double game week. You've then got Ederson for Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth. Arguably Newcastle as well, but then you've got Kepa against Leeds. I'm not going to keep going, but the rotation does keep going. They rotate perfectly. Now, I know it's a lot of money to be using on your goalkeepers. Like I do, and I would always recommend never spending this much money. But I just think because it allows me to save money overall and go for a much stronger, deeper squad without Cancelo, I really like the Kepa and Ederson rotation. Now, Ward and Ederson don't rotate badly, but you get the extra double game weeks with the Chelsea assets, and you also get some really nice fixtures when Ederson isn't playing. Now, you'll play Ederson most weeks. The other reason I like it is a lot of people are going for a Kepa. If I'm wrong, and let's say that Chelsea defence is fantastic, well, then I've got the option, and let's say Man City are a bit of a letdown. I can downgrade Ederson. I know it uses a transfer, but I've already got the Chelsea keeper in place. So I just think it's nice. It's not normally the way I would play, but I do quite like the rotation between Ederson and Kepa. So that's the reason why I'm currently leaning towards the Kepa and Ederson rotation. Now, let me just go back to the chat, make sure I haven't missed anything. Ross, it's so good to have you back doing these streams, man. Thank you, Connor. I appreciate it. It's good. It feels good to be back. I'm starting to warm up a little bit into this stream, which feels nice. Thank you for being here, everyone. If you're one of the almost 5,000 people here, I do appreciate you. Right. So, if I don't go with Cancelo, this is the team. So, I've already got it set up. Now, this is a much more template team. Where's my... Let me just see what I'm doing. This was the team that I was going for before I thought about maybe downgrading Cancelo. So it's very, very template. It's Kepa, Cancelo, Trippier, James, right? That back four. Let me know in the chat. Do you have the back four of Kepa, Cancelo, Trippier, James? Pretty much everyone does, right? Midfield four of Foden, Martinelli, Salah, Rashford. I think that's pretty template, but I think most people wouldn't have Foden. I think most people have got either Saka or Almiron or Trossard. So I think maybe Foden's a slight differential. I don't think many people will go there. Maybe Mason Mount you've got in that spot. And then the very template front three of Haaland, Darwin, Martial. So I think that is the template 11. If you change Foden to Almiron, I think that's the template 11. And then the bench is pretty much template, but I've got Castagna instead of White. The reason for that is I like Castagna. I've got a bit of a soft spot for him. But also, if I do Castagna to White, I lose 0.2 million because I bought Castagna at 4.4. So I don't really want to do Castagna to White because I don't think White is 0.2 million better than Castagna, especially when most weeks I wouldn't need to play that player anyway. And then I've got Bueno on the bench. Like, I don't dislike this team. Most people will look at this team and say that's a better team. So the changes are, rather than Ward, Cancelo, and Bueno, it's Ederson. Where is he? Ederson. Then I get Ben White, so I get an Arsenal defender to cover any possible doubles, and also just to get an Arsenal defender in there. And then I get Luke Shaw as well. And like I said, I've got more money in the bank now. This an extra 0.3 or 0.4 in the bank. So those are the changes. That's basically my big decision for this stream, for the rest of the stream. It's pretty much my big decision. How about Kyle Walker? 4.8 million for a City defence sure starter. I don't think Kyle Walker is a sure starter. I personally think Stones could start game week 17. And that's what a few people have said. Darwin and Foden or KDB and Wilson. I like Darwin. Darwin and Foden has higher upside, but obviously Foden's a minutes risk. Obviously with KDB and Wilson, you get a penalty taker as well. Hey Ross, what are your thoughts on John Stones as a cheap route into the City team? I'm not sure I like that because they can play Akanji and Laporte. This is why I don't like any of the City defenders outside of Cancelo. I think it's Cancelo, Ederson, maybe Laporte, but I think it's Cancelo or Ederson for me. Just because they're the only two sort of sure starters. Why have you not considered Kane in any drafts? I have considered Kane in a lot of drafts, to be fair. I'm not sure. I have a sneaky feeling we're going to want Trent over Cancelo, so keeping Cancelo for now makes that move a lot easier. I might even start with Trent. You've changed your tune, Frosty. You hated Liverpool earlier in the season. I agree with that. I agree with leaving Trent open, but I'm not keen on going with Cancelo, making my entire squad weaker in the chance that I might want Trent. Maybe I am. Maybe I'll go with Cancelo. I'm not 100% sure. Is Gross being slept on for the money? The only issue with Gross is once McAllister's back, Gross is no longer on penalties, and Gross might play right back or right wing back. So I'm not 100% sure on Gross personally. Don't press the free hit button. I know it's shocking, isn't it? The placement of the free hit button is absolutely embarrassing from FPL. Embarrassing, I tell you. God, my chest is so bad. Right. So what do we think of that? Quickly. Because no one's given me any feedback on it. What do you think of this? I know most people will lean to the Cancelo one. Given what I said about Kepa and Ederson rotating, given what I said about White and Shaw rotating as well, what do you think about, say, left or right? Left or right? I'm going to run a poll. It's easier. All right. Let me answer questions whilst you're voting. Differentials are vital at this point, so right. Yeah, maybe. I don't feel like White and Ederson are different. Shaw's a bit of a differential. But Man United are so shaky. Well, they're not shaky at the back, but we always find a way to concede, don't we? Listen, it's not that I don't appreciate everyone that's here. Listen, I appreciate you very much, but you are absolutely shocking. Like, you might be the worst chat in YouTube history for actually providing help with polls. I don't think I've ever run a meaningful poll and it not been pretty much... Oh my God, if my chair doesn't stop squeaking. And it's not been 50-50 pretty much. Look at that poll. It's 51-49 at the moment. You're pretty useless. I don't even know why I bother streaming. I don't even know why I bother. A Brexit poll result. Both are good. Yeah, maybe this just means that I just create fantastic options and that all of the options, whether I go left or whether I go right, it's all fantastic. We've now had 1,300 votes. Left is winning by 2%. I think both score about the same, to be honest, Frosty says. In that case, I think I'd go right because it's cheaper. It's a tricky one. I'm not going to leave it. I'll stop there and I'll just keep this team. This is the team. If I was forced to go for something now, this would be the team I would go for. And like I said, 0.8 million in the bank is quite nice. Let's just leave it there for now. Left is more flexible, right's cheaper. I would agree with that. Yep. Mate, right is so obvious. Right clearly isn't obvious because right's on 48% at the moment. Morning, Ross. Hope you're well. I'm all well. Thank you, Jamie. I hope you're well too. Aren't you spending too much money on keepers? Surely if you have Ederson, you don't have Kepa. Well, the thing is, if I don't have Kepa, I'd go for Ward. It's like 0.4 million between the two. And the thing is, I've got really good team value. Like I've done well this season to build up to good team value, and I don't feel the need to spend it elsewhere. And that rotation is just so nice. So nice between Ederson and Kepa. What about Nketiah? I really like Nketiah, to be fair. I really do like Nketiah. Only 6.5 million. I think I would rather, just when you look at the fixtures between Martial and Arsenal, Arsenal have West Ham, Brighton, Newcastle. Manchester United have Bournemouth, Forest and Wolves. So I think I would rather go for Martial until 19, maybe until sort of 20, maybe move to Mitrovic and then look at Nketiah for this run here if Jesus still isn't back. I just don't think this is a run of fixtures where I would want double Arsenal attack, personally. Even though they are arguably the best team in the league, right? They're top of the table. I'm just not sure that I would want Nketiah for that run of fixtures. It's less so about Nketiah. It's more so about the fixtures. Andrew says Nketiah is a better long-term pick over Martial, which is a better short-term. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Unless, obviously, Jesus comes back and then Nketiah is not a good long-term pick. As a West Ham fan, I don't like Arsenal players today. That's fair enough. I do think Arsenal will probably win like 1 or 2-0. That's why I'm not a massive fan of having Ben White on my bench, but... Right, I'm going to get rid of the left or right because I've no longer got that on screen. Here's another question for you guys. Who would you start? I'm interested who you guys would start between Ben White and Kieran Trippier. So I'm going to ask you that now. Whilst I cough. I'm not in a good way with my chest, chat. It's not going well. Right. Fofana, Chilwell and Loftus-Cheek. What do you think about Chalobah as your £4.7 million defender? Oh, Fofana, Chilwell and Loftus-Cheek out. Yeah, I don't mind Chalobah. It just feels like a transfer waiting to happen. Whereas I feel like the rest of my defence, I could keep that defence forever. I think all of them are nailed starters in their teams, and they've all got decent fixtures long term. Whereas I feel like Chalobah is a short term pick because as soon as Fofana's back, or as soon as Chilwell's back, oh, my camera's gone. Or basically as soon as any of those players are back, I'm not sure Chalobah's 100% now. But the thing is, I think someone said Chalobah has started 12 Premier League games in a row or something, or 12 games in a row for Chelsea. I think it was FPL Swee said on Twitter. Like, that's madness. So Chalobah is relatively nailed at the moment. But yeah, I'm not 100% set. I'm not 100% sure on Chalobah. I think I'll probably avoid. Is there really much of a difference between Darwin and Wilson? I don't think there's a massive difference, but I would argue that if Darwin starts finishing some chances, there probably is a £1.6 million difference between them, yeah. But again, it's reliant on Darwin starting to finish. But no, I think you could easily go for Wilson ahead of Darwin. Wouldn't be a Raptor stream unless we go Raptor the faceless man. I am the faceless man. Yeah, I know there's no camera. If you're wondering why there's no camera, it means you've never tuned into one of my streams before. Basically, my camera overheats and I have to just turn it off for like a minute. Why no Almiron? Why no Almiron? I've just seen 3 people say why no Almiron. It's less so that I don't like Almiron, and more so that I really like Martinelli, Salah, Foden, and Rashford. So, like, who would you have Almiron over here? I guess some people would say Foden, right? I could have Almiron over Foden, but I want another City attacker. I think these are just such nice fixtures here. Leeds and Everton are great. You've then got a double game week in 20 and a double game week in 23. Wolves at home outside of that. It just feels like a really nice run to have Foden for. KDB and Højbjerg versus Foden and Mount. Foden and Mount by some distance. I don't like Højbjerg as an option. Is Doherty better than Castagna? Arguably, if he starts every game, yes. But Castagna will start every game, whereas Doherty won't. Why is my camera still... That's worrying. Oh. One sec. I'm going to have to turn my camera off for a bit longer there. That's slightly worrying. The camera's not unfreezing. You think Foden starts all of those, though? I don't think he probably starts all of them, no, Nim. But I think he starts most of them. I would hope that out of these, he starts all but one. And again, there's no guarantee that De Bruyne starts all of them either. Martinelli or Mount? I think I prefer Martinelli. Why is literally no one talking about Kulusevski? I've seen quite a few people talking about Kulusevski. I don't know why more people aren't talking about Kulusevski. Let's have a look at Kulu. So he's got, what are the fixtures? Brentford, Villa, Palace. They're not terrible. But then as soon as Richarlison's back, whenever that is, I think it's around game week 2021, I don't think he starts every game. So I don't mind Kulu. I just think that maybe it's a slightly short-term pick. And when you look at short-term picks, they're not terrible fixtures, but they're not fantastic. 2 away from home. I don't mind Kulusevski at all. What about Kane? I don't mind Kane as well, but again, we can't own everyone. There are only so many players we can own. All right, let's try this camera again. Slightly worrying that it didn't work last time. What about a Chelsea attacker, Mason Mount? I think if I wanted to go for a Chelsea attacker, I think I actually prefer Kai Havertz. I think if I were to go for one, it would be Kai Havertz, yeah. Cool, thank God for that. Camera's back for now. Do a Zaha versus Mount poll. I don't feel like people like Zaha or Mount. I feel like if you do a Zaha or Mount poll, people just throw up. Do you know what poll I will do? Because quite a few people are asking that question. Is Trossard versus Almiron. Obviously, bearing in mind the difference between them in price. Will you do a team reveal before the deadline? Yeah, I'll probably show my team before the deadline. Sorry, I didn't mute myself in time then. I've just absolutely destroyed everyone's eardrums as I coughed. Wilson and Martinelli or Nunes and Almiron? Probably Darwin and Almiron, probably. Apologies for coughing down the mic. Hey, Ross, thoughts on Perraud? I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Perraud from Southampton is a good bench option. Yeah, Southampton actually have some really nice fixtures. Let's take a look. We spoke about Southampton's fixtures, actually, in the thing there. Only 4.4 million. Like, it's a really nice run. The issue is Southampton just aren't very good. So, maybe puts me off slightly. Really sorry to ask this again and again, but what are your opinions on Botman? Sorry, I didn't see that. I love Botman. I think Botman's fine. I've seen a lot of people go for Botman instead of Trippier. I don't mind that at all. I don't mind that at all. I'm really quite worried about not having Almiron. I know I said I don't let ownership affect me, but everyone owns Almiron. I just can't quite squeeze him into my team. Trossard or Mount? I'd go Trossard. Why not Zaha? Why not there are so many midfielders. If you're asking me why not this player, it's less so about the player that you're asking and more so that I just really like the midfield 4 of Martinelli, Salah, Foden, Rashford. Okay, right. So Almiron wins that one. I feel like this poll might divide a few more. I'm putting Martinelli at 6.4 million because that's my price that I've got him at. I know that's not his actual price. What is your team value? I don't know what my team value is. Team value doesn't matter. It's your selling value, isn't it? I've got very decent team value / selling value. Cancelo versus Shaw poll. There's no point doing that. Everyone will say Cancelo. I like Kulusevski so much I had to get rid of Martinelli. Yeah, it's a tough one. There's so many good midfielders. Like, genuinely so many. Who else do I want that I don't have? Almiron, De Bruyne, Trossard I would love. Saka I would quite like. Zaha. I still think Mason Mount's okay. Kulusevski. There are 7. Bruno. There are like 8, maybe 8, 9, 10 midfielders that I don't have that I would love. It's not easy at all. There are so many good midfielders. I feel like the strikers, there are less of them. Defenders, probably less of them. It's just that midfield, really, isn't it? Ross, drop Ederson for Almiron and play KDB for Salah in 20 and 23. Kepa benches well with Ward. Yeah, but if I get Almiron for Andreas, who am I benching every week? Like I would probably bench Martinelli or Almiron this week, which I don't like. Almiron all day. Martinelli's expected goal involvement per 90 since game week 12 is 0.17. I feel like I want both of them, but I can't, obviously, in this team. I could drop Foden, but I think Foden's a really nice differential. Hi, Ross. Is a 1 premium a viable option? Yeah, I've seen really nice 1 premium drafts. I suppose the final thing I just wanted to show you guys is a 3-mium draft. Let me know what you think of this. I'll try and put it together relatively quickly. I didn't have... No, it did have Shaw, didn't it? Who did I have? It had... Oh, I don't have Martial, did I? I had Almiron. 1 second, guys. I'm just trying to put together my 3-mium that I had to see what you guys think of that. There you go. That was it, because that saved money. Oh. Cool. And then I had... I think it was like that. No, I had Trippier. I definitely had Trippier. I'll get there. I'll get there in a second. How did I save the 0.3? I think I just had Castagna in there. Right, that was it. I think. What do we think of that 3-mium? It's not bad. You do lose the City defence, but you get Haaland, De Bruyne, Salah, Martinelli, Rashford, Almiron, Darwin, James, Kepa. Like, you've got everything apart from a City defender. That's quite nice. And I get De Bruyne, Salah, Haaland, and Darwin. And Almiron. I lose Martial. What do we think of that one, chat? Who in your team would you downgrade with 1 million less? Probably Ederson would be the obvious spot. I think Ederson's the only one. Or Foden down to Trossard. Or Foden to Almiron. Oh, I'm dying over here. Not good. Cool. Quite a few people like the 3-mium. I missed your super chat. Let me try and find it. No, I've lost that. I can't see any. Sorry. Yeah, could go for Kane. If people want Kane. People are saying, why not go for Kane as your third premium? You could easily make that Kane if you want to go for a premium with Kane. There you go. You put up 2 teams the other day, A and B are both disregarded. Not disregarded, but I'm leaning towards no Cancelo, which changes it up a little bit. So, chat, the only issue with a team like this is you've got absolutely no way of getting... Well, you do have a way. You have to sell Kane. But you've got no easy way to get any of the £7 to £9 million midfielders. Like, if you want Trossard, I suppose Trossard, you could do Rashford. But if you want, like, Mount, Zaha, Foden, Saka, Kulusevski, Maddison, Bowen, any of those players that I've just listed, you have to sell Kane. Whereas if you have De Bruyne and Salah, you can just downgrade one of your midfielders in one transfer. So, yeah. Do you feel under pressure being 2K in the world? I feel a bit under the pump and I'm 35K. Honestly, it's a little bit of pressure. I'm obviously 2K and a lot of people watch the videos and the streams, but it's fine. Or you sell Darwin. Yeah, you could sell Darwin for sure. So you could get rid of Darwin. Go for Martial. And then you can upgrade Almiron to Foden. It's a silly game about shirts on a screen. Relax, brother. Thank you. I'll be fine. Hi, Ross. Why not Cucurella over Shaw? Cucurella has a double game in Game Week 19. What's the situation with Chilwell? I just worry that if Chilwell comes back soon, then it could be an issue. Why no Cancelo? I think the reason for no Cancelo is I don't know that he's worth 7 million. So this is basically my team already, but I've taken out Ederson, I've taken out Shaw, and I've brought in Kane for Darwin. I'm not sure Kane over Darwin is worth it to make those downgrades, to lose a City defender and to lose a midfielder. I did put together, in case you missed it on Twitter, I'll show you quickly. I did put together a 4 premium draft, which was pretty fun. You missed my super chat. Why do people sound I've missed super chats, but I can't see any. They're not. Oh, Ward. Oh, you've given me your team. Yeah, that's the template team, but you've got Shaw instead of Cancelo and Kulusevski. Yeah, I like that a lot. I think they're 2 really nice additions. Who would you bench? James, Almiron, Gabriel. Gabriel, I'd bench probably. What was it in? Oh, yeah. A 4 premium draft. Oh, great. There's a dog barking outside. That's always fun. Have you considered Robertson or Trent? I did. Just not 100% sure. They're not bad options at all. I'm just, yeah. I don't know. I think they're fine. You could go Andreas in there. I suppose you could go... Need to find 0.2 million. Maybe Castagna down to Thomas or something like that. 4 premium draft. It's quite nice. That has 0.1 million in the bank. So you got a little bit to play with. What do you think of that? 4 premiums. You could go for Somerville instead of Andreas. I just don't think Somerville's going to be a regular starter, personally. Shaw or White? Ben White long-term, Luke Shaw over the next 3. Five premiums. Is there a 5th premium? I suppose like Bruno would be in there. No, I think 4 premium. It's actually not a bad team, that team at all. It's just very, very weak at the back. but you get most of the major players that you would want. But yeah, let me go back off it. Right, no, someone said, is that my actual team? No, my current team is basically this. I'm just not selling Cancelo yet. I have money tied up in Cancelo, so I want to make sure that I definitely want to replace him before I take him out. That is currently what I'm on. It's a relatively template team, but I've taken out Cancelo and put in Ederson, which basically makes my defense a little bit stronger. What is your captain rotation looking like? It's Haaland every week unless Liverpool get a double in 21. If you have money tied up, don't do it. Not worth losing it. In who? Even though Cancelo or Ederson, what City defender? I think Laporte is the only other one I would be interested by. Outside that, you could just avoid the City defence. City are the best defence in the league and they keep clean sheets, but you have a replacement. Like if you don't go for Cancelo, you go for Luke Shaw. Now, I'm not expecting Luke Shaw to match Cancelo, but could I see Luke Shaw getting an attacking return and a clean sheet? Absolutely. I actually would argue Luke Shaw is probably more attacking than Cancelo. So again, I'm not expecting any of these defenders that I go for instead of Cancelo to match him. But if I've got Ederson anyway to cover the clean sheet, do I think Shaw could get attacking returns? Yes. Do I think White could keep up in clean sheets? Maybe. So I don't think City defence is absolutely critical. I do think it makes sense to have one if you can. Why not Walker? I don't think Walker's as nailed as everyone thinks. I think John Stones can play right back and Ake can play left back, pushing Cancelo to right back. I think they are two very feasible options for every week. And as a result, I'm just not 100% set on Walker. In fact, I've not had Walker in really a single draft. I'm not a big Walker fan. Same issue with Akanji. When Diaz is back, Diaz is probably starting in that spot. Outside of that, you can have John Stones playing right centre back. I think there are issues with all of the City defence apart from Cancelo and Ederson, maybe Laporte, because Laporte's the only left-sided centre back that you trust. I know they've got Ake, but Ake tends to play left back if he plays. I just don't like any of the other City defenders personally. Are you worried about Foden being benched? I'm not worried, but I accept that there's a possibility of that. Wilson or Almiron? I prefer Wilson. Why not Almiron? There's no point asking why not and then a player. You can ask me why not Almiron instead of Martinelli, but if you just ask me why not this player, then you need to tell me where you think they should go in my team. Like if you say why not Kane, I guess you're asking why not spend 2.6 million more on Kane instead of Darwin. You know? So why not Almiron is because I think Martinelli's maybe a slightly better option. Are we overlooking Zaha? Maybe. He's got two really nice fixtures. I've had Zaha in a couple of drafts. I suppose my issue is he's just been a bit naff, hasn't he, this season? These are great, right? Fulham and Bournemouth are great. He's just not been great himself. He's got two 12-pointers and then just not much outside of that. And the issue that we've got with Zaha, I think it was Adam on Green Arrow's podcast, pointed this out to me. Zaha just doesn't pick up bonus points. Where are his bonus points? So you got 3 here. 1, 2. That's it. Like he doesn't pick up bonus points ever. Zaha, even sometimes when he scores, like there are examples when he scored goals and he just doesn't pick up bonus points. So if he doesn't pick up bonus points, he doesn't score that many goals. And when he takes a penny, sometimes misses it. I'm less keen on Zaha for those reasons there, but I don't mind him. I don't know if he's being like overlooked. I think he's just probably being looked at correctly. I do think people give him a harder time than probably he deserves, though. I don't think he's as bad as some people suggest. What's the hype around Rashford all of a sudden? It's just the fixtures. It's just the fixtures. And he's been in pretty decent form. Scored quite a few goals for England. Scored again an incredible goal against Burnley in the EFL Cup. I know people say they're only Burnley. Burnley have been tearing up the Championship this season. And these 3 teams here are arguably Championship level. So I wouldn't say it's only Burnley. And yeah, he only scored in 14. Outside of that, he's been pretty crap, Rashford. Like he's not done much at all. But we've seen here he's got a haul in his locker. And I think the next 3 fixtures are really nice. That's why there's quite a bit of hype around Rashford. Why Martial over Mitrovic? Mitrovic is a doubt. He's on 4 yellow cards, and I think the next 3 are better for Manchester United. So that's why Martial over Mitrovic. 1 hour to go until we've been streaming for an hour. Wow, that's gone quickly. It's gone very quickly. All right, 1 hour to go. Thank you for the countdown, Marcus. Have you considered downgrading Castagna and Kepa to upgrade Martinelli to Saka for pens and better stats? Not really, no. I think Martinelli and Saka are relatively close. Please answer Trossard or Martinelli. If it depends who gets the double. Like Brighton could get a double, Arsenal could, or both could in 21. That really would impact my decision. I think I like Trossard a lot. I think if you've got money tied up in Martinelli, keep Martinelli. But outside, I do really think Trossard is great. I'm still considering Martial and Andreas to Trossard and Greenwood, but I think I've got to stick with my boy Martial. Is this your final team? Please answer. I don't know. Shaw or Almiron? Well, they play in different positions and there's £1 million between them. I would say Almiron, but it's not really a straight shootout, is it? Is the FPL GOAT Nanoraptor ready for the deadline? Nanoraptor's downstairs. I'm in Nanoraptor's house, upstairs in the bedroom. So Nanoraptor's downstairs. I think she's watching the stream as well. Just chilling, watching the stream. What was the question about Nanoraptor? Is she ready for the deadline? Yeah, she's got Tony in there. She really wanted Ivan Toney. Who else has she got? She's got Saka and Martinelli. She loves Arsenal. She's a Manchester United fan that likes Arsenal. It's a weird one. But yeah, her team's ready. She's feeling good. James and Almiron and Kane. James and Almiron and Kane or Cancelo, Martinelli, Darwin. I think I prefer Cancelo, Martinelli, Darwin. Tony sounds like an interesting bet. That's cheeky, Frosty. Tony won't play. I think Tony will play until the 5th of January when he's hearing is, or the 4th of Jan. And that's 3 game weeks until then. So I think you've got 17, 18, 19 with Tony. Why Foden exactly? I think he's a great option. They've got 2 double game weeks, 1 in 20 and 1 in 20. Assuming that, by the way, game week 20, the double game week isn't confirmed. It's dependent on neither Spurs nor Man City drawing their EFL Cup game. FA Cup game? FA Cup game, I think. Cup game. Oh my God, that dog needs to stop barking. But let's say they've got a double game week in 20 and a double game week in 23. That's 2 double games. And I know Foden won't play all of them, but I just think I like Foden, basically. The thing is, I've got a soft spot for Foden because I bought Foden in game week 8 on wildcard. So I got Foden for his 8, 19 and 11 pointer. Foden is pretty much the reason that I'm ranked where I am. So I know what Foden's capable of. Other people were trolled by Foden. I've been pretty much the opposite. I've owned Foden at the right points. And I know that when he plays and when he starts, he's unbelievably good. Like, I think he's a better option than De Bruyne. Ignoring price. Let's say they're the same price. I think Foden's a better option than De Bruyne. He scores more goals. De Bruyne gets more assists. So that's why I've got Foden. Zodiac says, I consider Ederson, James and Cucurella over Kepa, James and Cancelo. I still get 2 Chelsea defenders that way and cover City defence. Ederson, James and Cucurella. Kepa, James and Cancelo. What's the difference in price there? Because I prefer the Kepa, James and Cancelo combination. But how much money do you save with the Ederson, James, Cucurella? I can't do the math right now. But yeah, if you save quite a bit of money, then it's probably worth it. Will you start White or Shaw? This week, I'm going to start Shaw. If I go for this team. Is Luke Thomas a good option? I think Luke Thomas is a good short-term option, Liam. But maybe not long-term the best. Jace says Almiron and Castagna or Foden and Patterson. If you need the defender to start regularly, then probably Almiron and Castagna. If they're just a bench option, then just go Foden and Patterson, I think. You save 1 million. Yeah, maybe do that. 1 million's not that much. Yeah, maybe do it. So is Tony playing this game week? As far as I know, Tony is playing until he's hearing on like the 4th or 5th of Jan. So I think Tony plays the next 3 weeks. 3 game weeks. Do you think Darwin is a must? I don't think Darwin is a must, but Darwin is the only player in the league that gets close to Haaland's stats for expected goals. And I know a lot of people don't like expected goals, but Darwin is an absolute just chance creation and goal opportunity monster. Like, he just gets so many opportunities in that Liverpool team. And this is when Liverpool haven't been playing well, right? We're talking about a Liverpool team that has massively underperformed this season. Darwin is still getting so many chances. And I know they've got no Jota, Diaz, and no Firmino. They're all 3 pretty good creative options. I still think that Darwin is that good. I would rather, and I know people will disagree with this, I would rather a striker that gets tons of chances but doesn't have the best finishing than someone as elite finishing but isn't getting many chances. We've seen that with Son. Son is an elite finisher. Son's not scoring goals this season because he's not getting the chances. So that's why I like Darwin. I like players that accumulate a lot of XG because it tells me that they're getting in positions to score goals. Also, we've seen in the past for Darwin, these last couple of seasons, he's not been a poor finisher. And yes, he's been playing in weaker league, but he's played in the Champions League as well. He does finish his opportunities. So I think it's only sooner rather than later he will start scoring goals. What's your starting team then, mate? I can't show you because I haven't made the transfers. I can show you on here. Let me just move over. That's my starting team, but I would change the bench order, I think. I think that would be my bench order. Who would you put? What would your bench order be, guys? What would your bench order be for White, Andreas, Castagna? And would you start Ederson against Leeds away or Kepa against Bournemouth at home? Can you help me with those decisions, chat? White, Andreas, Castagna, which order? And would you start Ederson or Kepa? I think I'm leaning Ederson just to cover the City clean sheet because obviously I don't have Cancelo. And I'm feeling Ben White. I think West Ham at home is probably better than Newcastle at home. And I don't think I still think Andreas is fine, but I'm not sure I'd put him first sub. What's the reason behind not having Cancelo? I'm just not sure he's worth the money. He's not getting as many attacking returns, if any. He's had like 1 or 2 assists, I think, hasn't he? Or 1 goal. And Ederson gives me enough money to strengthen my defence and have 0.8 million in the bank. Start Kepa, the order you've got. Raptor is the GOAT. Thank you very much. Kepa. Everyone's saying Kepa because they've got Kepa. This is the issue with asking people for questions, is that people will always just say what they've got, and everyone's got Kepa. So everyone's going to say start Kepa. FaZe says, if you was to bring in Cancelo, who would you swap? If I was to bring in Cancelo, this is the team. I've shown that team. This is the team. If I go for Cancelo. That's my Cancelo team. Everyone's saying start Kepa. I don't think I'll start Kepa. I think City are a stronger defence, aren't they? Cancelo has a chance to drop your rank so much with a cheeky 18-pointer, Raptor. Yeah, so does everyone. It's like me saying Kane has a chance to drop with a cheeky 18-pointer. Anyone you don't own that is highly owned is going to have a chance to drop your rank. I know you're only joking anyway, but this is the thing. People will say to me, yeah, but what about if Cancelo gets an 18-pointer? I can say that about any player that you don't own. Like, if you don't own Martinelli, what happens if Martinelli gets an 18-pointer? If you don't own Almiron, what happens if he gets an 18-pointer? All right. So Leeds will score against Man City. Potentially. It is at Ellen Road, isn't it? Maybe. Leeds have been doing it against the big boys this season. True. True. This is the only week that Kepa and Ederson clash. It's very tricky to decide who to start. Every other week, I think the decision's quite obvious. I guess next week is a little bit tricky as well. I'll start Ederson next week because it's a home fixture. This is the only one that's really, really quite a tricky decision to make. I don't know. I don't know which draft to go for, to be completely honest with you guys. I obviously think Cancelo is fantastic. And having Ederson obviously means I've spent a lot of money on my defense. The reason I love Ederson is, like I said, it gives me money in the bank, which I do really like. It gives me a good keeper every week. And it means I can get Shaw, who I think is really good for the next 3. And it means I can get an Arsenal defender for future doubles and just to have an Arsenal defender for the future. I feel like there are so many it's just fear of Cancelo is the only reason, I think. And obviously being able to get to a Liverpool defender if I want to. But I could get there in 2 transfers. Right? If I do Darwin down to Mitrovic, I can upgrade one of the defenders. If I do Foden down to Almiron, I can upgrade one of the defenders. So I can get to Cancelo in 2 moves. It's not ideal. I just think this is a stronger team in general. Really overlooking Kane. Again, you can say that about any player. It's not me being rude. You can genuinely say that about any player. I'm overlooking Almiron. I'm overlooking Mount. I'm overlooking Zaha. I don't think anyone's overlooking these players. It's just I like the players that I've chosen slightly more. I guess is the best way to try and explain that. Where is Miguel Almiron? Right on cue. Right on cue. Everyone's very upset about Almiron. So I can get Almiron, right? If I go Ward in here, I can, with money in the bank as well. Oh my God, why is my computer freezing up? There you go. I can do that. I can then even... No, I can't do that. Ignore me. So I can drop a City defender and I can go Almiron. The issue I've got if I do that is who on earth do I bench every week? Right? If I do that now, I've got to bench Almiron or Martinelli. Right? I've got to bench one of them. And I don't want to do that. I then just create a real headache for myself every week. The defenders, that's not a headache because 2 of them most weeks don't have the best fixtures. Is Aaron Wan-Bissaka starting? I'll be honest, I don't actually know. My opinion on it is I think it will be Malacia at right back and Shaw at left back with Lindelof and Maguire in the middle. So I don't think Wan-Bissaka starts, but how confident are you Martial starts? Unless Martial's picked up an injury, I would say 99% sure Martial, maybe even 100%. Martial is our striker. I think even when Ronaldo was at the club, I think Martial was our starting striker. He was just injured. So I would say I'm relatively confident Martial starts unless there's a major issue. You missed my super chat. I'm sorry, my man. Let me go find that for you. Wilson or Martial? Got Rashford already. I just about prefer Martial for the next 3. I can't see your super chat, Ash. You're going to have to ask me and I'll try and look out for your name. Is Kepa 100% starting? Not 100%, but as far as I know, he's back in training, so he should be. What are your thoughts on Kyle Walker? I think he will start most games for City. I don't think he'll start enough to justify including him. When, again, I think the likes of Luke Shaw, White, Botman, Castagna, Estepinian, Dunk, I think there are loads and loads of really good options at sort of 4.5 to 5 million. So I don't mind Walker, but I think, again, I've seen 2 of my most trusted City accounts for predictions have both predicted Stones to start at right back in Game Week 17. So there are people predicting that Walker won't even start in 17. Which I suppose isn't an issue if he doesn't come off the bench, right? And you've got a decent bench sub. Glad to see you back, Ross. Your team is similar to mine, but I can't go with Triple United as a Liverpool fan. Got a feeling Darwin is going to smash it. I think Darwin's going to do really well as well. And I don't blame you for not wanting Triple Man United, so it's fine. I do enjoy the fact that people complain that there's a template, right? Lots of my comments are, you've got the same team as every other YouTuber. You've copied Andy, he got a very different team to me anyway. But I always get accused of copying them. People say that there's a template. People complain that FPL was boring. And then I do something slightly different, which is put Ederson in instead of Cancelo and don't include Almiron. and the comments are just people absolutely losing it that there's no Almiron and that I've not included Cancelo. It just makes me laugh, but you can't win either way with the very few people that do complain. It's not everyone, of course. Apologies. I had a chest infection and it's just antibiotics didn't even barely help. Why no Cancelo? I've explained enough. You'll have to go back in the stream. Any news on Mount being fit? I think he's back in training. Whether he starts or not is a different story. It's another reason that I maybe don't want to bother risking going with him. Hi, Ross. Odegaard over Martinelli. Nelson can play over Martinelli and Odegaard is in great form. I don't think Nelson will start over Martinelli, but yeah, I don't mind Odegaard if you want to. Odegaard has been really, really good, hasn't he, before the World Cup? Do you think Martinelli is still good enough more than Almiron? That's probably the decision I'm struggling with the most, actually, is Martinelli versus Almiron. I just think that Newcastle don't have any upcoming double game weeks. Arsenal might have an upcoming double. And if I'm wrong about the fixtures, because I do think Arsenal struggle a little bit and they've got no Jesus. But if I'm wrong, I've seen people with Martinelli, Saka, and I feel like I'm going to really get battered if I feel like it makes more sense, let me try and explain this better, to start with Martinelli. And if I'm wrong and Almiron continues to smash it and Arsenal look shaky without Jesus, I'll just go from Martinelli to Almiron. Whereas to go from Almiron to Martinelli, I'm going to lose all the value I've got tied up in Martinelli. So I guess my thought process is, I could be wrong. Almiron could be the one to go for. But I think I've got money tied up, so I'm going to start with Martinelli, is my thought process there. Hopefully that made sense. By the way, if you are enjoying today's stream, there are over 5,300 of you. Please drop a like on the stream, but more importantly, please subscribe to the channel as well. We're trying to hit 55,000 subscribers on this stream. Let's see how far away we are. Okay, we're just over 350 subscribers. Only 350. There are 5,500 people here. If you've not yet subscribed, please do me as a Christmas present, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Nelson is injured. Oh, I didn't know that. There you go. Nelson's injured anyway. But I think he'll be back soon, isn't he? I don't think it's serious. The value in Martinelli doesn't get you points. You've got to sell him. I agree with that. Andre, who said that? Oh, Marcus. I agree with the comment that Martinelli's value doesn't get you anywhere. I guess my point more so is if Martinelli starts smashing it and I want him back, I lose money. So if I'm not sure on Martinelli versus Almiron, it makes sense to keep the player I've got money tied up in, I think. But I agree with your sentiment there. Absolutely. What's the final team, Raptor? This is largely the final team. But I could change it. So I don't know the final team yet. I've only got 40 minutes though. What's your take on Laporte? I think Laporte is the best defender outside of Cancelo. You're actually so goated as an FPL content creator. Thank you very much, FPL Bob. I appreciate that. Is Pascal Gross good? I think he's fine, but I prefer Trossard. I think he's worth the extra money. Are the games on Prime Video today? That's a good question. Let me see. The games... Yeah, they're all on Prime Video. That is excellent. Across the entirety of this GameWeek 17. Oh, that's excellent. Wonder, who are we going to watch it? Who are you watching at 3 p.m, chat? Let me get them up on here quickly. Can you see that? Let me just double check you can see that. If you're in the UK, I know if you're not in the UK, you can pretty much watch every game anyway. If you're in the UK, what games are we watching at 3 p.m? They're a bit naff, aren't they? Leicester Newcastle? I'm not going to watch Leicester Newcastle. I've got no Almiron. I've got no Wilson. I've got no Castagne's on my bench. I've got Castagne and Ward on my bench, and I've got no Almiron and Wilson. I'm not watching that game. Everton, Wolves, Crystal Palace, Fulham, Southampton, bro. These are a bit naff, these 3 p.m. games, aren't they? I think I'll just spend time with the family instead. What's your opinion on Paqueta? West Ham's fixtures aren't great, are they? I don't mind Paqueta. Just let me have a look. Let's go back here. What West Ham's fixtures like? Oh, they're actually better than I thought. Don't know why I thought West Ham didn't have the best fixtures. Yeah, maybe Paqueta. They're not bad. Could even go Bowen, I suppose. I think there are probably better options though. Still, West Ham weren't great, were they, earlier in the season? Foden, Mount, and Saka. Pick two. Foden and Saka. Good luck, my people. Raptor bruv. Why not Gabriel over White? I'd just rather save the money, Chris. I think Gabriel is a better option than White. But considering I won't play, if I was playing the Arsenal defender every week, like if in this team every week I was playing the Arsenal defender, I would go Gabriel. It's worth the extra money. But I only play the Arsenal defender, I think it's only like 2 or 3 of the next 10 game weeks. So I don't think I need to go Gabriel. Since you have Martial, why not upgrade Rashford to Trossard and keep the option open for Brighton double game week? Well, I can just do Rashford to Trossard for the double game week. I agree Trossard's a great option, but the next 3 are just so good for Manchester United. Why not Laporte instead of Ederson? Yeah, I could do. I just think Ederson's so nailed on, isn't he? I don't trust Kepa. Whom should I get? I think if you don't want to go for Kepa, you can go for Ederson if you want to drop Cancelo. If you want to keep Cancelo, I would maybe look at probably one of De Gea, Ramsdale, or Sanchez. I think they're probably my three top keepers. Or you could even go for Ward and Everson if you want to. But I think we saw 2 very different Leicesters. We saw the Leicester at the start of the season that were absolutely immense. At the end of the first half of the season that were immense defensively. And then we saw the Leicester at the start of the season, which were one of the worst defences we've seen in Premier League history. So if you were short 0.1 million, would you switch Andreas to Somerville? No. I don't know why everyone thinks Somerville is going to start all the time now. Unless they've got injuries, Somerville, in my opinion, is not getting in that starting 11 for Leeds. What is Leeds' injury situation like? I don't even know. Oh, okay. They've got quite a few injuries, to be fair. He probably gets... Well, he's even an injured out. I don't know what the situation is with Somerville, but he probably gets starts whilst there are injuries. But their front 3 of choice would be Sinisterra, Harrison, and Aronson. And then Rodrigo, when Bamford's back, obviously would drop deep as well. So he might get some minutes. I think what you want from your cheap midfielder is you want them to be able to be relied upon when you need them. You don't know when you'll need Somerville. You don't know when you'll need Andreas. So you don't want it to be that the one time that you need Somerville is the game that he's rotated for, whereas Andreas is going to start every game. So no, I don't think that's the place to downgrade. If you're short of this team and you want this team, number 1, don't copy. But number 2, I'd go like Castagna to Botman or Castagna to another cheaper defender. I think Castagna is the spot in this team that it's a bit of a pick because I like Castagna and I've got a soft spot for him. Remember, I brought Castagna in game week 9. So I brought Castagna in for an 8-7-6-6, 12-2-6-6. He kept a clean sheet every week apart from 1 against Man City when I benched him anyway. And the week that he got a 12-pointer, my team did terribly. So it's like a sentimental pick, me going for Castagna. But people are saying Leicester's fixtures are shocking. Number 1, I would rotate Castagna, like I said. But they're not actually that bad. They're not great, but they're not terrible. You've got Fulham, Forest, Brighton, Villa here for this little run. I think he's fine, and he's very, very attacking. And I've been saying for about 2 months now, Castagna's going to score a goal at the back post at some point. I still believe that. I want to be there for the Castagna back post goal. So, but yeah, if you're going to downgrade from my team, it's probably Castagna. Why are you missing most of the chat? Because the chat moves really quickly. And let me know, by the way. I can change the way I answer these questions. I tend to answer a question in a bit of detail, which means that I'm speaking about one question for like 2 minutes. If you want me to just fire off without giving you reasoning, I can do that. Like Saka or Almiron, I can just say Saka. But I tend to give you a bit more justification because I think that's more useful for me to talk about it in detail. Sorry, I was still muted. The question was, is having X in the bank too much money in the bank? I've seen quite a few people ask this question. No, I don't think so. I think you can have 10 million in the bank if you want to. If you've picked a team that you're happy with and you don't see an obvious place to use the money, keep it. I guarantee there will be a point in the next 3 to 5 game weeks where you are delighted that you left 1.5 or 2 million in the bank. It always happens. That's why I'm leaving 0.8. I would love to leave more if I could. I'm looking at this team thinking, is there an obvious place to make a downgrade? Because it's so useful. For example, I could maybe want to go Rashford to Saka. Maybe Arsenal get a double game week 21, and I think I'd really like Saka instead of Rashford, but I don't have 1.3 million in the bank. Or it might be that I instead go, oh, actually, do you know what? Darwin to Kane would be really nice at some point, but I don't have 2.6 million in the bank. So there are always places where in the future you could make a really, really nice upgrade. So don't feel like you've got to spend your money. I absolutely don't think you need to spend your money at all. Is this your final team? I'm 80% sure this is my final team. Ross, I'm so on the fence with Cancelo, more out of FOMO. From a psychological standpoint, what would you do? I think from a psychological standpoint, do the thing that will make you enjoy the game the most. If having no Cancelo is going to make you hate the game, then just pick Cancelo. There's no issue with... Obviously, it's not always optimal, but if fear of missing out is going to prevent you from enjoying it, just pick Cancelo. I don't really play the game in that way. I try not to let fear of missing out affect my decision making too much, basically. I have 2.2 million left in the bank. That's perfect. I think that's a really nice amount. What I wouldn't do is sacrifice your team and have a really crap team with players you don't want just because you want money in the bank. But if you've got money in the bank, then fine. What are your thoughts on the second chance league? I think it's a great idea. Keeps people active. Like we've got over 5,000 people here right now. I expected there to be a massive drop. It's my most viewed video ever. Is my team selection video for game week. For game week 17. Don't know what game week we were then. It's on 88,000 views. That's my most viewed video ever. Like engagement is really high, and maybe the second chance league has been a reason for that. So I like it. You should write a book on FPL. Seem to know quite a bit about it. It's a good idea. I don't even have a book on hand. I'm probably done with my team for now. GG's, Ross. Good. Glad to hear it. We're at 10:30 now. I don't think we'll have a site crash. I think they actually upgraded the servers based on what we saw after the crash. But I think you still probably want to wrap your team up in the next 15 minutes. What are your thoughts on 3-5-2? I really like 3-5-2. I'm very tempted myself. I think there are no issues with 3-5-2 at all. I've already sold Martinelli, so I've lost team value. Is it worth bringing him back or choose Almiron? I think if you've sold him, I'd go Almiron. Hi, Raptor. Which games will you start Ederson over Kepa? I will show you. I will start Ederson in 17, 18, 19, 20, 20. Oh, God, that wait. Let me. 17, 18. 19, I start Kepa. 20, I start Ederson because he's got the double. 21, I start Ederson. God, it keeps freezing. 22, I start Kepa. 23 is Ederson. 24 is Ederson. 25 is Ederson. 26, I'd probably start Kepa, actually. But maybe Ederson. And then 27 and 28, I think it's Kepa or Ederson. Like, they have very good fixtures, both of them. So I think basically it's Ederson every week apart from 3 or 4 up to about game week 27, 28. So it's Ederson most weeks. So I know then people will say, well, why have you got Kepa? It's only 0.4 more than Ward. If I didn't have Kepa, I'd go Ward. For the 4 weeks that I want Kepa, he's got excellent fixtures, right? It's a double game week. I know City's one of the fixtures, but it's a double. It's Fulham at home. Oh, there was another one. I can't remember. Anyway, they're decent fixtures, basically, for the weeks. But yeah, Ederson will start most weeks. Also, there's a chance at some point I have to downgrade Ederson. If I want to get De Bruyne in, I would have to probably remove Foden or Ederson. So there might be a time anyway when I switch away from Ederson. So then I'll have Kepa. All players. What do we think of the final team then, guys? If this is the final team. Is it just Almiron that's really missing here? And Cancelo, obviously. Cancelo and Almiron. Scenes when Mendy plays over Kepa. I wouldn't mind that with having Ederson. Super chats, Ross. I don't think I'm... The chat must be moving very quick because I've not seen anything. We are 250 subscribers, by the way, away from 55,000. So if you would like to give me a Christmas present, apart from just being here, please do subscribe. Only 250. I guarantee there are 250 people watching that have not yet subscribed. And that would make my Christmas wonderful. What's my formation here? My formation here is a 3-4-3. Mrs. FPLB is anxious that you haven't locked in your team and is concerned about a website crash. Tell Mrs. FPLB, firstly, thank you for your concern. Secondly, she's probably correct. Thirdly, if I don't lock it in, I've got a team locked anyway, right? I've got the Cancelo draft is locked in and ready to go. So it wouldn't be the end of the world. It would just mean I went for the Cancelo draft if the site crashed. I really don't think we'll get a site crash. I think the reason for the site crash, it's Boxing Day, you've got to remember as well. Like, we're FPL nerds. The 5,311 people that are watching right now, you're all FPL nerds. I'm an FPL nerd as well. But I don't think the general populace will be sat there on Boxing Day morning tinkering with their team. The reason it's crashed in the past is because of early team news. The only early team news we might get is Spurs, but does anyone really care that much? Some of you might have Doherty, I suppose, or Perisic. Kane, Trossard, Kepa versus Martial, KDB, Ederson. Kane, Trossard, Kepa versus Martial, KDB, Ederson. I think I prefer Martial, KDB, Ederson, but I do like the Kane, Trossard, Kepa as well. Oh, it's a really tricky one. I think I actually like Martial, Trossard, Kepa. So I like the top one, but I think Martial over Kane is worth the money saved. I do really like Trossard. Trossard's the one... Right, no, there's two. Trossard and Almiron. If I could own two players that I don't currently own, apart from obviously KDB, is Trossard and Almiron. I would love to get Trossard and Almiron in. I think that Trossard will score at least one goal in GameWeek 17. I think Trossard will smash it against Southampton. My issue is... I could just do Trossard instead of Martinelli. Oh, God, I'm starting to tinker last minute. The issue I have with this is I have now no Arsenal attackers and I have no money in the bank. Now, one of the reasons I wanted money in the bank was to be able to do Rashford to Trossard. But the other reason was maybe Martial to Wilson. But I do really like that. What do we think about Trossard instead of Martinelli, chat? Nketiah over Martial. I don't mind Nketiah. I don't mind Wilson as well. Lots of questions are around Nketiah and Wilson over Martial. I like both of those. I have no major issue with those. Martinelli will be played as a forward. Don't sell. Trossard is apparently playing up front as well. No Cancelo is a season ruiner. I don't agree with that when I've got the cover for the clean sheet. The only thing that Cancelo can bring on top of Ederson is attacking returns and bonus points. How many attacking returns and bonus points he's going to get, we'll see. But the thing is with Cancelo, unless he gets attacking returns, because City scores so many goals, he doesn't get that many bonus points unless he gets attacking returns as well. Surely Trossard can come in later once the doubles are confirmed. Probably, right? The fixtures aren't great over the next three. Oh, they're not bad. 2 away fixtures in Arsenal and then Liverpool. He probably can come in for this run here, Trossard. I just have a feeling... I don't know why I can see a Trossard 10 plus points against Southampton. Maybe 2 goals or something. I've just got a bit of a weird feeling. But I'll probably keep Martinelli. You missed my super chat. I feel like people are just saying that now. Okay, I've seen 2 there. Reckon Kane or Mount are decent picks. I think they're both fine. They're both slight doubts for 17. Kane's on 4 yellow cards. I think people don't realise that or don't care. But having a premium on 4 yellows, because if Kane gets a 5th yellow, Are you using 2 transfers to switch to Salah or De Bruyne, or are you just going to bench Kane? I suppose you could go to Darwin, but I've seen a lot of people with Darwin, Haaland, and Kane. So Kane being on 4 yellows puts me off a little bit. And he's just a little bit of a doubt due to fatigue. I think he'll start. Mount's fine. I think they're both fine picks, Luke, but they're not my favourite. Almiron and Nketiah or Martinelli and Martial? I prefer Martinelli and Martial, personally. But I've got Martinelli and Martial. If you're going to ask me questions about which players I prefer and I own the players, then I'm, of course, going to favour the players that I own. Andreas to Trossard and downgrade Martial. Yeah, we discussed a 3-5-2, doing Martial to Greenwood and Andreas to Trossard. I just think I think I want Martial. Martial versus Trossard is probably the decision to make, isn't it? By the way, Marcus, thank you very much for moderating so perfectly. I appreciate that. And Gabriel as well. There are a few people modding. Thank you, mods, for helping me out. I know it's not easy. Last question. Should I start Martial or Mount? You can't bench Martial or Mount. If you're benching one of Martial or Mount, you've got too many attackers in your team. Thoughts on Foden's minutes? I don't have a clue. I wouldn't be surprised if Foden's benched for the next 3, and I wouldn't be surprised if Foden starts the next 3. That's my genuine opinion on it. I'm not going to pretend I have a good idea. All I would say, God, my chair's so squeaky, is Foden started 11 Premier League games in a row. He was then benched for 3, but then started and played 90 minutes before the World Cup. I don't know what happened here. I'm going to assume that this was some sort of behavioural issue that he was being punished for. There was no reason here, unless he thought he was fatigued, but he didn't look it. I don't see any reason why he was benched here. I don't think he fell out of favour because then he started for 90 minutes. So I'm hoping that we see similar minutes to what we saw in the first 11 game weeks. But I don't know on Foden's minutes 100%. Sessegnon whilst Perisic is away. I don't think so. They could play Doherty and Emerson Royale if they wanted to. I don't think I wouldn't be going near the Spurs fullbacks. I just don't think they're worth it at the moment. Raptor, what do you think of Matoma as a 5th mid? Only 4.9 million. Yeah, I really like Matoma. The issue is once McAllister's back, Matoma might not start. And if he does, it might be at left wing back instead of Estepinian. But at the moment, with McAllister away, the Brighton predicted lineups are that that Matoma starts left wing and that Trossard starts as a striker. So yeah, for that reason, I don't mind Matoma. White and 0.7 million in the bank or Gabriel and 0.2. I've got a very similar situation. I'm going to go for Ben White. Like I said, though, if you're starting the Arsenal defender every week or almost every week, I would personally go for Gabriel. But because I'm not starting my defender every week, I'm just going to start Ben White every 3rd or 4th week. Then I think it makes more sense to go for Ben White. Hopefully that makes sense. I've not seen a lot of people talking about Zinchenko. Is he injured or something? Why is no one talking about Zinchenko? I feel like Zinchenko's a great pick. Okay, he's got a muscle injury. There we go. That's probably why people aren't talking about him. When Zinchenko's back at 5 million, Zinchenko feels like an excellent pick. I know you could say you could get White for 4.7, but I think the left-sided attacker for Arsenal is the more attacking. And Ben White almost sometimes sits back into a back 3. He does still get forward, but I definitely prefer the left-sided defender for Arsenal, whoever that's going to be. Cancelo, KDB and Mitrovic or Robertson, Foden, Kane? I prefer Cancelo, KDB and Martial or Wilson. I'm not sure on Mitro at the moment, but I think that's probably a slightly better structure. Robertson, Foden, Kane feels like it has huge upside, though. That's a really tricky one. I think that's virtually 50-50, but I'd probably lean towards the former. God, I'm quite hungry. 20 minutes until the deadline. Oh, dear God. Daft question, but when making transfers and submitting your team this game week, do you play the free hit or just confirm transfers? Don't play the free hit, Steve. Just confirm your transfers. Everyone's got unlimited transfers, so you won't take any hits. I think, as far as I know. Sorry about all the coughing. Hopefully I am muting myself every time. 20 minutes until the deadline. 20 minutes. Good God. What do we do? Cancelo, Trossard, Erdegaard, or White, Foden, Saka? Cancelo, Trossard, Erdegaard, or White, Foden, Saka? I think I prefer White, Foden, Saka. But I do think you want to cover the City defence. So I would have to have Ederson and Guy if I wanted to do that. Raptor, what do you think Almiron and Martinelli long term? I think long term Martinelli. The next few Almiron's probably got better fixtures. Why Martial over Wilson? Which to go with if I have Trippier, Rashford, and Almiron? Ignore the players you've already got. I think Wilson's fine. I think he's a better long-term option. I think he's a safer option for minutes, and he's on penalties. I feel like the next three are there to attack with Rashford and then with Martial and then move off of him. So for the next three, I prefer Martial at long term. Or if you don't want to make a transfer, if you don't want to book in a transfer, I think Wilson's a very safe bet. Do remember, folks, that the post-deadline stream content here is better than waffles and ice cream. It is the best part of the live stream. How many subscribers are we on? Let's do a quick check. Oh, we're only 113 subscribers away. 113 of you. Subscribe now. Go. I would really appreciate it if we could hit 55,000 subscribers. I think I just need to make my transfers, don't I? Right, chat, you've got 30 seconds to convince me to not sell Cancelo. Go. What are the chances of Kepa starting? I think Kepa should start. Any news on Dallo and timeout? I don't actually know the answer to that. I know he's out for 17. I don't know how long he's out for, though. I don't think it's too serious. Are you starting Castagna today? I'm not. My back three will be James, Shaw, and Trippier. Is Foden nailed on? No. De Bruyne and Almiron or Salah and Foden? I prefer Salah and Foden. I think they're both good options. Almiron or Martial? This means 3-5-2 over 3-4-3. I've got a similar decision. I'm going for Martial. But yeah, I'm in a similar position, Chris. That you could justify either. Right, I'm going to do it then. Ward, Cancelo, Kinder Bueno out. Ederson, Shaw, and White in. God, that squeaky chair. Confirm transfers. I've done it. No Cancelo because I'm not buying him back at a more expensive price. I just need to sort out my bench order now. And I need to decide which keeper I want to start, which I think is going to be Ederson. I think that's the way I'm going to rock with this team. Let me just take a little screenshot of that so I can tweet it in a second. Go on then, chat. What do we think? Roast me. Don't really roast me, but you know. Kane over Darwin, yeah, I don't mind. Not sure he's worth it completely, personally. It's difficult to know who to start out of Cancelo and out of Ederson and Kepa. Laugh my ass off, Raptor bro. Cancelo 18-pointer, rip you, bro. I don't think so. Well, if he does, he does. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things, isn't it? He needs to regularly get attacking returns to justify his price tag. So if he gets an 18-pointer, great, that justifies the price tag. Let me see. I'm just going to check on Twitter to see if anyone's got any early news, just in case. Don't think so. No, I haven't seen anything. I don't know what we're looking out for. I guess Doherty. I guess Doherty and Kulusevski. Kulusevski's going to start, isn't he? So it's just the fullbacks. But I don't think anyone really cares too much. Surely if you're not starting Kepa against Bournemouth, you might as well have Ward. No, because I've got Kepa for the fixtures where Ederson doesn't have a good fixture. And I've got him for the double game week as well, which Ward doesn't have. Do you think I've got the bench order right, chat? Darwin and Foden or De Bruyne and Wilson? Darwin and Foden for me, but again, I've got that combination, so of course I'm going to... Say that. I don't like the fact that Shaw is there. Let me just sort out my OCD. There we go. That looks better, doesn't it? Andreas might be on pens if Mitrovic is out. Yeah, I guess. I really think Arsenal might keep a clean sheet against. Yeah, White on. I'm tempted to start Ben White ahead of Trippier. I know that's absolute madness. I know that's madness, but it is tempting. You missed my super chat, did I, Ross? Oh, all right. I've seen your team. Any changes I should make? No, I think your team's fine. Kanji, I reckon Akanji will start game week 17, but I don't know long term if Akanji is the best option. But other than that, I think your team's fine, Ross. Yeah, they've got exactly Marcus. They've got no Antonio and no Skamaka, West Ham. I think there's a very good chance, and it's at the Emirates. I think Arsenal keep a clean sheet, but I suppose that's only a 6-pointer. Whereas Andreas, if he scores, I don't know. I think I'm going to keep White first sub. I'm tempted to go all the way, and third sub. I might put Castagna second sub. You know. Sorry. All right. Does Mitrovic play? I don't know the answer to that. Is Kane okay for a second premium? I think so. Yep, absolutely. Going Castagna over Trippier, I think that's fine as well. I do think you want Newcastle defence, but it's up to you. You really believe in United. This looks bad, right? I genuinely am not a biased Man United fan. The reason I think Rashford and Martial makes sense, and the reason for going for Luke Shaw is I've got Castagna and Ben White have good long-term fixtures, but I don't think they have the best fixtures for the next 3. And because I've dropped Cancelo now, I kind of needed starting defender for the next couple. So that's why I've gone for Luke Shaw. And also, he is very attacking when he starts and plays, and he's decent for bonus points. So again, it looks very biased because I've got triple Manchester United. I don't mean for it to. I do have, this is the reason I like this team, is I've got triple City, I've got double Arsenal, triple Man United, and double Chelsea, and a single Newcastle. So I feel like I've got players from the best teams in the league. I don't have any Spurs assets, which is a slight issue. Oh, and I've got double Liverpool as well, of course. So I feel like I've loaded up on players from the best teams, basically. Why no Cancelo and Almiron? Cancelo and Almiron, I'm not going to keep explaining myself. I think they're both excellent options. In an ideal world, I would own both Cancelo and Almiron, but you can't own everyone. So that's my response to that. Sorry, I'm taking a screenshot of my team so that I can tweet it with the new bench order. No, not save to files. What are you doing? Right. Darwin or Wilson? I prefer Darwin, but 1.6 million is a lot, isn't it, to save? How much do you have in the bank with this team? I have 0.8 mil in the bank, which is basically kept. It's kept for doing Martial to Wilson, or for doing Rashford to Trossard, or for doing like Castagna to Dunk. It's basically in preparation for Manchester United's fixture turn, because I have 3 United, and also for any upcoming double game weeks. I could even do Martial to Mitrovic, but that's only obviously 0.1 million I'd need for that. So I've got plenty of options. And then, like I said, if I do want Cancelo at some point, I know it's not ideal, but it would just be a 2-transfer switch. It would be like Cancelo in there and then Almiron in there. I mean, I could do that now, to be fair. I'm not going to do that now. But just to show you, Cancelo is achievable. Or Trent, like whoever I want to go for. If I want a premium defender, it's not impossible to get there. it's just going to require taking out one of Ederson or Foden because I'm on Triple City, and then obviously bringing an Almiron, which isn't an issue. Like, this team looks fine, so I can definitely get there. There's a lot of red in this team, isn't there? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'm very tempted to put Castagna ahead of Andreas, but I don't think I'll need my second sub anyway, to be honest. Why Ederson away versus a tougher opponent over Kepa at home versus easier opponent? I think that the City defence is better than the Chelsea defence. And I've also covered... I know I've not massively covered because everyone owns him anyway, but if Chelsea keep a clean sheet, I've got James. So I get the clean sheet. I'm hoping, I suppose, that Ederson makes a couple of saves that he doesn't normally make. But yeah, I agree the fixture's better for Kepa. But I think it makes more sense to start the better keeper from the better defence. 380 seconds until the deadline. It's an interesting way to put it. We've got 8 minutes till the deadline. Are you not worried about people copying? If people want to copy this team, they can. It's a bit of a funky team in places. I'm ranked 2k in the world. I don't think anyone's... The thing is, I've got good team value as well because I've been making early transfers throughout the season. So, listen, if people are copying, they copy. I'm not going to change the way I stream too much. Like I said, I might hide the odd transfer. Like ahead of like double GAMEWEEK 21, maybe I'll hide it. Most people aren't affording this. And if they are, they've got no money in the bank. So if people want to copy this team with no money in the bank, it means when I move from Rashford to Trossard or Martial to Wilson, then they're going to fall behind anyway. Which one would you start, White or Almiron? Definitely Almiron. Why Trippier, not White? I just think that the Newcastle defence is excellent. And Trippier is just a machine, isn't he? White, you're probably looking with White, maybe a 9-pointer, but probably like a 6 or 7-pointer. I mean, he could score, of course he could, but you're probably looking at 6 or 7-pointer with Ben White. Trippier could get anything with the amount of attacking threat he has. I went with a 3-5-2. I told you I like the 3-5-2. I think that's a decent shout. Guys, we're only 28 subscribers. I know there's 5 minutes till the deadline. 28 subscribers away from 55,000. I would really appreciate, that would be absolutely amazing if we could hit 55,000. 28 people. That's all I need. Is Akanji nailed? I don't think he's completely nailed, but I think he's, at the moment, probably just about first choice for right centre-back. Glad you're back. The team has missed you. I've missed you too, Chris. Thank you for being here. Copying a team makes no sense as money in the bank is the main driver. I would agree. I just don't think copying makes sense in most fields in life, but there we go. Just over 5 minutes left until the deadline, guys. I would get that wrapped up extremely quickly. Doesn't look like the site's having any issues, but I would still just get your team sorted. Ash has said Almiron and Darwin or Trossard and Wilson. That's a very tricky one. I think I prefer Almiron and Darwin, but I really like Trossard and Wilson as well. That's almost a 50-50, to be honest. But yeah, Almiron and Darwin would just about get it for me. Chris says, Bueno or Patterson, difference between 0.7, 0.8 in the bank. I think Bueno for me. I did think Patterson because of the double, but it's not a great double, and Everton are just a bit naff anyway. I'm considering Zinchenko instead of Shaw. Last minute, am I going crazy? Zinchenko's an injury doubt, isn't he? So I'd maybe go Shaw for the next 3. But no, you're not crazy. I think Zinchenko, when he's fit, is going to be great. KDB and Greenwood or Foden and Darwin. It's difficult to answer that, Antonio, because I assume you're not starting Greenwood. So if you go for the KDB option, who are you starting instead of Greenwood? Foden and Darwin sounds better to me, but who are you? Do you know what I mean? Like that's not a straight shootout because your starting 11 will change. 4 minutes until the deadline. Get your teams wrapped up as soon as possible. Make sure your bench order's sorted. Give it a little refresh. That's what I always do. Oh. Is that my internet or is the site crashed? Okay. I think it was my internet. My internet's struggling. Yeah, I've just dropped loads of frames. That's fair enough. So make sure you refresh it. Make sure you sort out your bench, your captaincy, your vice captain. I've, of course, got the armband on Haaland. I don't think there's much of a... At the moment, unfortunately, there's not much of a debate around captaincy. Bench order-wise, there's justification to start Andreas. To have Andreas first sub. I just got a feeling that Ben White's going to keep a clean sheet. So that's why I've got him first sub. And I'm gonna guess. Oh, the site did crash. Okay, it looked like a mini crash because I'm back now. And I'm gonna guess that Almiron or Wilson's gonna score. So that's why I've got Castagna third sub. If Castagna keeps a clean sheet, I don't care because it means Almiron and Wilson have blanked, which I'm happy about. Oh, the site did. Yeah, everyone's saying the site crashed. Well, remember from last time, try the app. If the site's not working, try the app. Why is the site crashing? There's no early team news. I didn't expect the site to crash. People realising last minute that there's a deadline at 11. What do you think about playing Aaron Wan-Bissaka? I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka will be benched. I think it will be Luke Shaw and Malacia, but there's a chance Wan-Bissaka starts. So if you want to go for it, go for it. Cancelo or Luke Shaw? Cancelo's a much better option in my opinion, but he's also a lot more expensive. What is he like? Was it 2.6 million more? James isn't starting, according to who? Well, if he doesn't play at all, then I'll get White. If he comes off the bench, a bit of an issue, but oh well. Bueno 0.6 in the bank or Botman 0.1. Depends if you would regularly play that defender, then go Botman. Why go big at the back, Ross? I don't think this is big at the back at all. I've got no premium defender, and White and Castagna are relatively cheap. I just like the fact that I've got a stacked-ish bench. I like the fact that I've got options to come off the bench if I need them. Oh, Chelsea don't play today. That was the joke. Okay, fair enough. Trossard or Almiron? I prefer Trossard, but he's obviously more expensive. Nketiah or White? It's a strange question. I'd start Nketiah if that's the question. Martial versus Che Adams. I don't mind Che Adams, but I prefer Martial. Frosty with the huge super chat donation. Thank you very much, my man. I appreciate you so much. Says, Merry Christmas. In the end, I went for a punt on Havertz. I like it a lot. I like Havertz. I think Havertz could be a great option. I prefer Havertz to Mount, personally. And thank you very much for the super chat, Frosty. Foden, Kane, Saka, Erdegaard, or KDB, Kulusevski, Martinelli, Martial. I prefer KDB, Kulusevski, Martinelli, Martial just. But I think they're both very good liners. I think they're both fine. Sophie says, is Mitrovic, Haaland, and Martial a good choice of forwards? I won't be starting Mitrovic this week. If you can get away with benching Mitrovic this week, Sophie, I think that's a great set of three. Yeah, I think you're good with those three. You've got less than a minute now to the deadline. Lock in those teams. Stop asking questions. Get your team locked. Almiron or Martial? I prefer Martial just. Heard Reece James isn't fit. If he's not fit, then I get White off the bench. It's absolutely fine. Reece James a doubt. That's absolutely fine if that's the case. I still want to go with him. And I'll get, like I said, I'll get Ben White off the bench. I think it's too late to start making decisions now if there is news that Reece James might not be fit. I'm not seeing anything on Twitter, so it might just be people trolling. Right, we are locked. That is it. We are locked. Sorry if you're still asking questions. It's too late. And apparently the site was crashing badly as well. So I'm glad I did make the early transfers. By the way, if you're still here, don't leave. We stream for at least another sort of half an hour or so. Going to carry on the stream. Ask any questions you want to ask. So don't leave. If you are leaving, though, please drop a like on your way out. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. And thank you for being here. But most of you, hopefully, will end up staying. Yep, the site has crashed. That's a bit of a disaster. This is why you do it 10 minutes early. This is why you do it 10 minutes early. Absolutely. Wowza. That is a bad cough. Thanks for the stream. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. What Christmas gift did you get most excited about? I got, probably my favourite Christmas gift is I got a nice pair of headphones. Which are, oh my God, my voice sounds weird in them. They're noise cancelling, they're Bluetooth. They're for the gym mainly, but also noise cancelling for when I do work and stuff like that. So yeah, they're quite nice. They're not like overly expensive ones. They're the they're JBL, but I think they're only like 50 quid. But yeah, they're nice. That was probably my favourite present. I I mean, I'm an adult now, so I don't ask for really expensive presents. So I only got like a few. I got, honestly, my second favorite present is I got a new pair of slippers, which is a little bit embarrassing to admit that slippers would be my favorite present, but there we go. What's the name of them? They are the JBL. Let me get the name. JBL 710 something. Oh, why is... I hate this. Why is Yahoo suddenly my JBL 710? They're the JBL 710 BT. I think they're like 45, 50 quid. They're quite good. They're not like amazing. There we go. Oh, did we hit 55,000 subscribers? Excellent, we did. 55,000, thank you very much. FPL Focal Centers here. Cool, we getting some of Focal's chat coming in. Welcome, if you are new here. How was the Christmas day? Was it nice and relaxing? Yeah, so Christmas day I just spent with my mum and my dad. And then Boxing Day, I'm going to spend with Nana Raptor, my sister and her fiance, and my two nieces, and my mum and dad. Basically, Boxing Day is a lot bigger for us. So yeah, yesterday was just really chilled Christmas day. And today will be a little bit more hectic because there's two young kids and they're absolutely manic. I'm an adult now, certainly aligned for the dating apps profile. There we go. Hi, Ross. What gaming headphones would you recommend? I don't really game that much, unfortunately, so I don't have massive recommendations for gaming, unfortunately. Oh my God, stop squeaking. Should I switch Wan-Bissaka to malaria? I assume that's Malasia, and you're far too late. The deadline was 3 minutes ago. Did anyone buy you a camera? No, no one bought me a camera, but the camera's fine. It will freeze in the next few minutes, I'm sure. Is the deadline not passed? Yeah, the deadline's passed, but we just carry on streaming for a bit. Is this your full-time job? No, this isn't my full-time job. I have a part-time job as a lecturer, and I have a PhD part-time. So it makes up full-time. I teach for about 20 hours a week, and my PhD's 20, 30 hours a week as well. And then YouTube is about 40 hours on top of that. So it's about 90 hours, I think, in total. Should I switch Aaron Wan-Bissaka to Malasia? You can stop asking that question. I told you the deadline's done. It's just, I feel like you're not listening. You just keep spamming the same question. De Gea against Forest isn't a bad fixture. Yeah, I like De Gea as an option. Yo, what's your PhD in? My PhD is in the role of virtual reality in elite football. So we're working with injured players from Premier League football clubs. There's one of them, potentially two, soon. And we're working with the injured players to see if virtual reality training can benefit their rehabilitation. Has anyone ever told you look like Daniel Radcliffe? I've heard it a couple of times. I don't... There's a little bit of a... I think it's just the beard and glasses, but... Since you were sick, what happened to your class? I'd already finished teaching, luckily, so there we go. You do 90-hour weeks. How? I suppose the YouTube I do in the evenings, and it's not really a job as much. Like, for example, I've done a 3-hour live stream this morning, and it's taken me 2 hours to prep. So that's 5 hours of time gone into this stream. But I did the 2 hours of prep a few days ago, and and the 3 hours is on it would normally be on a Saturday morning. It's on a Monday now. But you see what I mean? So I suppose the 40 hours or so, 40 to 50 hours that I do for YouTube is at the weekends and in the evenings. So it's not really, I'm not working for 90 hours as such. And the PhD work is very fluid. Like sometimes I won't do any PhD work for 2 or 3 days. Then sometimes I'll do like a 9 till 5. So yeah. I did cyber psychology at Trent. Loved it. That sounds like a really interesting course, Gem. How many students do you have? So I mainly teach first year, sports science. On our first year, we've got like 450 students, but I teach personally about 180 students. God, that cough is bad. Someone just asked how I'm feeling. I still feel extremely ill. It's so bad. It's 2 weeks I've been ill for now. Proper interest in PhD, great area of psychological research. It's interesting for sure. And yeah, getting to work with Premier League footballers is fun, I guess. Well, it's not, I guess, it is fun. So that's cool. Do any of your students play FPL? Yeah, loads of my students play FPL. For sure. Predict the winner of this season's UCL. I think it's City's. I think it'll be City. You and Andy are both coughing a lot. Is Andy coughing a lot as well? Yeah. Take the hat off, Ross. Do you want me to take the hat off? I can take that hat off. I'm going to have a big mark in my forehead. Oh, no, I'm not. There you go. Hat's off. The bald head comes out when we do these stuff. You are very good at doing YouTube, my friend. I appreciate that. Thank you. That's very nice of you to say. Are you still single? Ryan says. I am still single. I'm still very, very, very much single. Yeah, no, I'm just doing me at the moment. No updates on the dating front. I bought your book for Christmas. Looking forward to reading it in the new year. I appreciate that. Thank you for buying the book. Is James injured? I've seen loads of people in the chat were saying that James might be injured. I don't know if it was trolling or if it's real. You look like you need some winter sun. Yeah, I know. I'm pasty, aren't I? I'm looking very pale. I could quite do with some winter sun, to be honest. It is also the lighting. I'm not normally this pale, but yeah, I do need a bit of a suntan for sure. What did you have for Christmas dinner as you are a pescatarian? Well, interestingly enough, a couple of weeks ago, I started eating meat a little bit again. I think one of the reasons I was so ill and struggled is my diet's not been great recently. I think that you can't eat fish all the time. I think on the days I weren't eating fish, I wasn't eating properly because I don't particularly like vegetarian and vegan dinners. So, I did chairs. So I think for my health, I'm not eating meat like every day constantly, but I've just started eating a little bit. So I had turkey. Yeah, it was the first time in 3 years I'd eaten meat. It tasted really weird. I had sausage the other day and it was just not sausage like that. Stop chat. I had sausage the other day and it was really, really just meaty. You'll know what I mean. If you've ever not eaten meat for a while and then gone back to it, then you'll know what I mean. I bet you're the best teacher. I try my best to be a good teacher. Yeah. I definitely put in a lot of effort to my teaching for sure. Why are people just being nice to me? Marcus has said you handsome man. Thank you, Marcus. Hi, gorgeous. Hi, gorgeous to you as well. How often do you shave your head? Once a week-ish. But yeah, I just don't like having... The longer my hair, the more bald I look. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, but because I don't have the best hairline, I've got a bit of a bald spot as well. I just look... The longer I let my hair grow, the more bald it is, so... How patient will you be with Foden if he gets benched here and there? Not particularly patient. Foden will be sold very quickly. If Foden, out of the next 3 fixtures, if Foden doesn't start at least 2, I'll sell Foden. I'm not keeping Foden at 8.3 if he's not starting. I'll probably do Foden to Trossard or Foden to Almiron, Foden to Saka, Mount, Kulusevski, Bowen. There are so many good players at that price. If Foden's not regularly starting, then there's no justification to have him. World's best FPL YouTuber, thank you. James on the bench, is it true? I've not seen anything myself, but loads of people have been saying stuff in the chat, so we'll see. You complained about your Wi-Fi for gaming, etc. some time ago. No gifts for Christmas like a repeater to improve it. The issue is I'm in student accommodation, not now, but where I live. I'm in student accommodation, and it's wireless internet, and boosters are against my contract, so I can't get a booster. And the Ethernet port that I have available doesn't work for some reason for my PS4. It just doesn't boost the internet. So I can't really... it's against my contract to change the internet or to have my own internet. And yeah, the internet for them is just not great. It works fine for streaming because they've given me an Ethernet port, but it doesn't work for my PS4 for some reason. How do you buy your book? There's links in the description to buy my book, but it's on Amazon, Waterstones, might be on some other sites as well. I'm not really sure. But yeah, you can buy the book. There's a link in the description. Why Trippier over White? Just think he's got more attacking threat, and I do want to cover the Newcastle defence. I know I obviously now don't cover the Arsenal defence, but you can't have everyone. There's rumours that James is injured or not going to play So I think he's fine, but I don't know why the chat seems to. God, my chest. What's your Premier League table prediction? Oh, God, I don't know. City will win it. Arsenal second. Chelsea or Man United third. Maybe optimistic. Liverpool fourth. Maybe Spurs. I don't know. I think it's very, very tight up there after City and Arsenal, who look just so much better than everyone. Newcastle might squeeze into the top four as well. Will you stay in Nottingham and academia after PhD? I might do full-time YouTube. Who knows? The YouTube's going so well, but I know it can change very quickly, and you guys might get bored of me. FPL might change. The channel might get hacked. Like anything can happen. With YouTube and with that as a job, I feel like a mistake that a lot of people make is not diversifying their income. So if I went into YouTube, I'd create a second YouTube account. I'd maybe do some like online coaching around some of the psychology and mental health stuff. I'd have to make sure that I diversify my income. Because I think when your income is solely reliant on FPL or solely reliant on one YouTube channel, that's a bit scary, and I think that's a bit dangerous. So I think if I went full-time YouTube, I would create another YouTube channel, which is just about like mental health, about passive income, about how to be more productive, how to live a more positive life, the role of sleep and why it's so important. Like there are so many things that I'm interested in, and it would probably just be me sat in front of a camera. Better quality than this. I'd have like a much better quality camera. My camera's frozen. Speaking of which, I would obviously have like a really nice background, and I would probably hire an editor and stuff. So I've got loads of plans. So I would probably I'd go full-time YouTube if it's still going this well, and I would create another YouTube channel, and I would probably run the two alongside each other. Do you have any friends that are playing in the Premier League? I have ex-friends, obviously, like the likes of Ainsley, Maitland-Niles. I was quite good friends with Kyle Walker-Peters, Harry Winks, but I don't speak to them now. I haven't spoken to them in like 8 or 9 years. It's been a while. Which grade do you teach? I teach first year sports science. I don't know what that is in America. It's basically, they're 18-year-olds, basically, most of what the teaching that I do. I sometimes teach second year, which is like 19, 20. Merry Christmas, mate. I hope you have a great time with your family. Thank you, Ray. How long was the sausage you had? Quite short, actually. Since when are you playing FPL? Which season? I started playing very casually like 5 or 6 years ago. I've only played 2 or 3 seasons properly. Like when I say properly, I mean like every single week, looking at underlying data. I think I started about 1.5 years before I started my YouTube channel, playing like really seriously. You look cool with the hat off, Prime Zidane. Thank you very much. Can't even see my face now. I'm just letting my camera just calm down a little bit. I'm glad this setup's worked well though. I mean, like I said, I'm in Nana Raptor's house, and she's got a spare room, but it's very crammed. Like I've not got as many screens as I usually would. Oh my god, the camera really is. I'm gonna have to give it another couple of minutes. Really overheating. What's your book about, Ross? It's about the role of psychology in FPL. Why is Cancelo out? I just thought I could do more if I had Ederson rather than Cancelo. I just bought the same JBL headphones as you for fitness. Thanks for the info about the headset. £47 in Denmark. That's nice. Nice. Yeah, they're good. They stay on your head well. The sound quality is decent. The only thing is the bass isn't like really great, but they're £40. If you want really good bass, you go for like Bose or like the new Apple ones. Is Nana Raptor booked in for a YouTube video this festive season? Maybe. The issue I've got is when I say crammed, my green screen takes up from wall to wall, and I'm wedged into the desk. So there's like that. Oh, you can't even see me. I'm doing hand movements. There's like 2 inches between my torso and the desk. Like there's not enough space for 2 people really. So I don't know. Did Stormzy come round for Christmas dinner? No, he didn't. Stormzy deleted his socials, so I now can't even message Stormzy because he deleted his Instagram and Twitter and all that, didn't he? You should post Nana Raptor's teams. What's her team name? Yeah, I don't have her team. She had Tony. She had Wilson. She had Martinelli and Saka. I'm trying to think of the things that I did where she did where I didn't tell her. No, I did not tell her, but I recommended maybe elsewhere. Like she wanted Tony and Wilson. I was like, I've got Darwin and Martial. She's like, no, I really want Ivan, Tony and Wilson. She really wanted Saka and Martinelli, so she got the double up Arsenal attack. She also went for De Gea in goal. So Nana Raptors' team's actually quite different. Are you concerned you don't have Almiron? I'm not concerned, but yeah, obviously it's not nice to have a player so highly owned that I don't have with good fixtures. But if I went for Almiron, I would have to drop Martinelli or Martial. So either way, you're going to miss out on players. How can you be confident in your appearance? I don't know that there's much that I can say that can help you be confident in your appearance. My favorite piece of advice, let me see my camera's back on. When I'm giving advice, I like to look at you. Not necessarily you, but you know, like you. Plural you. Let me see if my camera's going to stop overheating now. Yes, it does. Nice. Sorry, what was the question? How can you be confident in your appearance? My major piece of advice for maybe not being insecure and not being self-conscious. There's a psychological phenomenon known as the spotlight effect. You can Google it. I will type it in the chat. The bottom line of it in this context is that we have this perception as humans that everyone else is constantly looking at us and judging us and thinking about us. But realistically, no one, and I've said this before on this, so apologies if you've heard me say this before, no one really cares necessarily about what you're doing. Like when you're walking down the street, no one's looking at you in tons of detail. No one's thinking, oh, that's a strange outfit, or, oh, your hair looks a bit greasy today. Like I know people get worried about, or like for me, for example, if I haven't shaved my head, I'm worried that I've got like a bald patch, so I wear a hat. Like no one really cares. Like when you're walking down the street, do you look at someone's hair and go, that hair looks greasy? Or do you look at someone's outfit? And if you do, you're probably not a very nice person. So I guess the point is realize that largely people aren't really bothered by the certain things that you're self-conscious about. Like if you think you've got a slightly big nose, people probably aren't looking at your big nose. Like I've got a very big nose, but who cares? Like people aren't really looking at that. So I guess people aren't paying as much attention to you as you pay to yourself. That helped me to be less self-conscious and less insecure. So I can't tell you ways to make you more confident necessarily, apart from just working yourself. Like me going to the gym, me putting on nice clothes, it makes me feel more confident. But I guess the main thing is that you don't want to be self-conscious. You don't want to be insecure, I think. You knew Ainsley, no way. I love him at Arsenal. Said he hasn't stayed in the squad. Sad he hasn't stayed in the squad. Yeah, Ainsley was a strange character, but yeah, he's a good footballer for sure. Do you like NFTs? I have no issue with them, but I don't own any NFTs. What's your favourite Christmas movie? Probably National Lampoons is probably my favourite Christmas movie. That's a great movie. Ross, I went. Oh, well, my voice broke. Ross, I went and came back, and damn, now I have a late Christmas present. Nice. Yeah, I remember you talking about the spotlight effect when I asked about public speaking. Yeah, it helps. It helps a lot to realise that people don't really care what you're doing. Maybe being short as a man is the biggest insecurity, you know? Yeah, absolutely. Like I feel short, and I'm not short. I'm average. I'm like just under 5'10". But so I know if you're shorter than that, you probably feel short. But short kings and all that, you know, there are girls out there that like short guys or that are so short that they don't care if you're short. People are too conscious of themselves to be bothered with you. Exactly. People are so worried about what they think that they're not looking at you. Everyone's so self-absorbed, and that's not a bad thing. Like, we live inside our heads. Like, I have to spend 100% of my life inside my own head dealing with myself. So people are so focused on themselves that they don't necessarily focus on you as much, which is a good thing. Why no Cancelo? People are desperate to know. I just think I've got Ederson, so I can cover the Man City clean sheet, and the rest of the team is much stronger without Cancelo. Ben has also asked why no Mitrovic. No Mitrovic because he's a slight doubt, and I think I prefer Martial for the next three. So Martial to Mitro is an option in GAMEWEEK 19, and Ederson covers Cancelo and allows me to have a much stronger squad. There we go. Any advice on your timing of letting a girl know about your feelings? I would say, in my personal experience, sooner rather than later is better. I think you don't want to be constantly second guessing, and you don't want to be putting in loads of effort in the wrong way. I'm not saying you shouldn't put effort in a friendship, but you don't want to spend months putting in effort and rejecting other relationships and focusing your attention if they're not interested in you. So I think you need to find out. but I think you can do so in a more subtle way than necessarily pouring out your feelings. So get a bit of a gauge. If you think that they like you back or you think there's a chance that they do, I would just tell them sooner rather than later. I know like there are other people that will think that you should, like I've just seen someone in the chat, later is better, match and mirror. Like your life is important and time is important. I think if you wait 6 months to a year to try and gauge that and then realize either they do or they don't, you've wasted a lot of time either way. But again, I don't think you should meet someone and 2 weeks in tell them you love them. It's just to say that I think it's better to put your feelings on the table. And if they like you back, then they like you back. But yeah, try and be a little bit... Don't say like, I love you so much, I want to be with you forever. Maybe just say, do you want to go on a date? I like you a lot, do you want to go on a date sort of thing? God, that chair's so squeaky. Oh, my bum's gone dead. Ow. Why are you such a goat? I'm not a goat. Like I was gonna try and do a goat noise then, but I think I was just gonna be like a sheep. Then I'm not. Oh my god. Oh, I've got a Coke here. Pepsi Max even. Let's have that. Ow, my bum is dead. ASMR with a Pepsi Max can. Cheers. Most people know Pepsi Max is better than any other fizzy drink. If you don't believe that, you can leave the stream. So I'm doing like ASMR once. There you go, I muted myself because that was a little bit too close to the microphone. What are some of your favourite books? Oh, don't get me started. I'll always give the same 2 books that are my favourite, which is Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker and Atomic Habits by James Clear. They're my 2 favourite books. I just finished reading the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. So if you're looking for a fantasy fiction-based books, then I like the Mistborn trilogy. But yeah, Why We Sleep and Atomic Habits are the best 2. I would only recommend Why We Sleep if you have an academically inclined mind. Because it's not like Atomic Habits is written for a lay person, that's like a normal person. Why We Sleep is written by an academic, and it's slightly more academic than a normal book you'd want to read. But it's easy to read. But I would say if you're not big into science and you're not big into reading, I would recommend Atomic Habits instead of Why We Sleep. Diet Coke is better, right? I'm just going to block everyone that thinks Diet Coke's better than Pepsi Max. I patted Mrs. FPLB on their head during our first date. I'd recommend doing that. I would recommend definitely not taking that advice from Marcus. Mrs. FPLB is an amazing woman that seems very patient to have to put up with Marcus. I wouldn't recommend patting women on the head. But I mean, do you know what? Marcus has been successful with that, so maybe who am I to say? Ross, you are on my list of dinner guests I'd like to invite. Very interesting to listen to your views. I appreciate that, Steve. That's a great question. 3 celebrities or people, dead or alive, if you were to invite them to dinner, go. Let me know in there. Or you can just choose one. You can just choose one if you want to. Who would you invite to dinner, dead or alive, that you just want to have a chat with? And have a real think about this, because I thought the other day, yeah, I'd love to have dinner with Messi. But would I want to have dinner with Messi? His English isn't great. What would I I think I would like to play football with him. But who would you really like to sit down and have a real chat with about something that you're passionate about or something that interests you? Any football book suggestions? I don't really read football books. The only football book that I've read is The Psychology of Football by Mark Nesty, but that's only interesting if you're interested in psychology. Have you continued on after the Mistborn trilogy? Is it worth it? Not yet, Craig. I started reading the Stormlight Archives. What's the book called? I forgot what the book's called. I started reading this. So I didn't read the books after the Mistborn. I started reading the other one that he's famous for, the Stormlight Archives. It's okay. I've not really got into it massively. If you read Mistborn, Vin and Kelsier and like all of the characters of the Mistborn trilogy, they're very much like, I feel like I really bonded with them. Whereas so far with the Stormlight Archives, I've not bonded with the characters as much. But have you done any research on narcissism? If yes, you should post a video on the same. I've done a lot of research on narcissism. I did a research project on narcissism. Yeah, I could do some stuff on narcissism for sure. I watched Matthew Walker's interview with Andrew Huberman. He was great. Matthew Walker is an incredibly intelligent man, and he knows everything there is to know about sleep. Advice to help with procrastination. I have, yeah, don't know if I want to give that advice. One piece of advice, which I find is very, very useful. There's quite a lot of research with procrastination to suggest that the major issue with procrastination, the reason we struggle, is it's the starting a task. Once you start a task and once you're actually into it and into a flow state and enjoying it or even doing it, most people don't struggle to see out the task as much. It's actually the starting which is really tricky, or at least getting into it. So there was a piece of research which suggested that if you have a timer, whether that be like someone actually had a sand timer on their desk, which I thought was quite cool, but if you have a timer of some kind and just set that timer to 5 minutes and say, I'm just going to commit to 5 minutes of that work. And when I say that, really only commit to 5. If after 5 minutes you're bored and you don't want to do that work anymore, don't do it. But what you will find, even if it's work you don't necessarily want to do, is after doing 5 minutes, you'll think, well, I've started now. I'm in a bit of a flow state. I've got all of my tabs open if you're doing work, or I've started cleaning the house. I've got the Hoover out. You feel like once you've started doing that 5 minutes, you tend to see it out for an hour or two. So I sometimes I do it on my iPhone because I don't have a proper timer, but I'll just start a 5-minute timer. And after that 5 minutes, if you truly have actually spent that 5 minutes working, and it's critical that you spend the 5 minutes working, you'll tend to continue doing that. The other thing that I would say about procrastination, and I feel like this is very underappreciated, is if you don't want to do the thing, you probably shouldn't be doing it. Now, there are things like washing up, cleaning the house, unless you're Marcus, who seems to always be washing up. I think that if it's work related and you are desperately procrastinating every time you need to do it, you should find a way to not do that or change your job. If you are constantly procrastinating the work that you need to do, you're probably not enjoying the thing that you're doing. So, like, I never procrastinate with making an FPL YouTube video. I love it. I'm so passionate about it. I don't procrastinate with teaching. Like, when I have to set up for a teaching session, I love doing that. If I'm procrastinating with something, it probably means I don't enjoy it. So those are my two pieces of advice. Try and find a way to enjoy it, or try and find a different thing to do, and also try the timer. Because that works well for me. I'm just reading some of the people that you want to have dinner with. I was just allowing you to all comment. Bob Marley, Kurt Cobain, J. Cole. J. Cole's a cool one. Chris Brown. I'm not sure about that one. Michael Jordan, your granddad. That's very, very sweet, Victor. I'm not going to read some of these out because they're not appropriate. Eddie Hall, Eric Cantona, and Gaza. That would be an awesome dinner. That's quite a cool one. An English-speaking Messi, sure. Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Nelson Mandela. If they were dead, they wouldn't say much. Ben Foster, Eric Bristow. That's a cool one. David Brent, Alan Partridge, and Ian Botham. Botham. Oh, I should know who Ian Botham is. Is he a cricketer? Oh my God, why don't I know Ian Botham? Let me Google. Ian Botham. Oh, he is a cricketer. God, I'm so clever. I know I should have known that anyway, but you know. Gandhi. I like that. Johnny Cash, Adam Sandler, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Stormlight Archive books are brilliant. You just have to stick with it. Okay, I will trust you on that. Have you ever travelled to Asia? I've never been to Asia, I don't think. No, I've never been to Asia. I've never been to America either. I tend to go to Europe, which is boring, I know. And I've been to Africa once because I went to Egypt. But outside of that, I don't really... I've been to, Kos. I don't really, not really been to far and away places. If you watched any of Messi or Ronaldo's interviews, you'd know they're quite shallow people. You don't expect compassion or interesting takes from footballers usually. Potentially. I feel like obviously interviews are very much... They don't allow you necessarily to have the sort of discussions we're having here. And again, you would struggle because of the English stuff. But I agree largely, though. I don't think I would... I wouldn't choose anyone in football. If I were to have... Who would my 3 be? See, I would have, like, Mr. Beast. And that's not necessarily because I love it. I don't actually watch that many of his YouTube videos, but I think his approach to YouTube is so interesting. And it's in a field where I'm very interested. So I feel like I would probably choose, like, YouTubers. And I might also have someone interested in science as well, because I'm quite into science. So, like, Stephen Hawking, I think, would be an incredible person to have like be able to chat with, or maybe someone like Matthew Walker or James Clear that's just got their head screwed on. I would want to have quite an intellectual dinner, but some people wouldn't. Some people would like want to invite comedians, and it would be really fun, which is fine. Mrs. FPLB's ideal dinner guest: Martin Kemp, Jennifer Lawrence, and you. Listen, Marcus, I'm happy to come over to dinner anytime. I'm not sure if I want to be there with Martin Kemp and Jennifer Lawrence. I don't mind that, but we'll see. Thanks, Ross. You're welcome. I don't know what you're thanking me for, but you're welcome. What did you get Yelena for Christmas? I didn't get Yelena anything for Christmas. Muhammad Ali. Nice. Ross, come to Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and see the Raptors. I have an air mattress you are welcome to. I may take you up on that at some point, Claudette. I just have to afford the flights and the tickets to a Raptors game, which is neither of those are cheap either. Would you be interested to have a seminar about FPL in Asia? Potentially. I think if I ever went to somewhere like Australia or anywhere in Asia, Thailand, wherever I wanted to go to, I think I would try and do a meetup in that country for sure. Are you feeling better, Raptor? I hope you're well. Thank you for the content. I'm feeling better because literally when I say bedbound, that wasn't an over. I couldn't move for a week. It's honestly the illest I've ever been in my life. And just to put that in perspective, I never lose my appetite. I didn't eat for a week. I almost like that. That's why my mum took me to the hospital in the end, because she said you're not eating. Like you need to go to sort that out. I lost so much weight. I've been bulking. I lost it all. Yeah, it's just terrible. Lineups are out. Oh yeah, the Spurs lineup will be out, wouldn't it? Okay. I feel like that's a very obvious team. Perisic is back. So Forster. Why is Lloris on the bench? Did we know Lloris was going to be benched? Is that something that might have been common knowledge? I don't know. Forster, Doherty, Tanganga, Dyer, Longley, Perisic, Basuma, Højbjerg, Kulusevski, Son, Kane. I mean, it's almost exactly what you'd expect. It's maybe slight surprise to see Perisic back. I think there was a few suggestions that it could be Royal and Doherty or maybe Sessegnon. Oh, okay, we already knew that. There we go. I didn't pay any attention to that at all. Yeah, I know he played in the World Cup final, but I don't feel like you're particularly tired as a goalkeeper playing. Maybe I'm under appreciating what goalkeepers do. How much do you bench? My personal best is measly 95 kilos. If I'm benching for reps, it's about 80, 85 kilos, which is really poor. I don't weigh a lot, though. Tanganga must be at centre-back, Doherty at right-back. Yeah. Yeah, Doherty and Perisic as the wing-backs, Tanganga, Dyer and Longley as the midfield three. No hat raptor equals the best raptor. Do we prefer the bald head being out? Come to Everest, Nepal for a holiday. Maybe one day. Please, could you quickly show your FPL team value? I can. But like I said, team value doesn't matter. It's your selling value that matters. Right? So, sorry. By the way, the reason I'm doing this, my microphone is completely covering the entire left screen. So I'm like trying to duck around it. What was I looking at? Team value. See, look, it's only 103.7, but my selling value is quite high. And as part of that team value, I bought Trippier. Oh, an idiot. We can just look at the fixtures for now then. I bought Trippier at a much cheaper price. I bought Martinelli at a much cheaper price. I bought Haaland. So, like, a lot of the players I own, my team value won't be very high. But because I bought them for cheap, like, I can get much more with my team. Does that make sense? So, yeah. What do we think for fixtures today? Any big scoring games? I need Kane to score today. I'll go get big points. You could have a really good start. For anyone that went with like Kulusevski or Kane, no one went with Son. It would be typical FPL if Son were to absolutely smash it now, because I didn't see I didn't see a single team with Son. Hoping Liverpool haul and score 3 or 4. Yeah, I'm interested in that 5:30 Liverpool game for sure. Crystal Palace will win big, which is really weird. Interesting, maybe. Tony will score 2. Southampton Brighton will be a fun one, I hope. Can you predict every fixture? Yeah, we can briefly do that. I think Spurs, Brentford, like 2-1, 3-1 Spurs. I think Spurs will have enough, but I don't think they'll keep a clean sheet. I think Tony probably will score. Crystal Palace, Fulham. Yeah, like 2-1 Palace maybe. Everton, Wolves. I think this will be low scoring. Let's say 0-0 Everton, Wolves. Leicester, Newcastle. I think there'll be goals in this game. I'm going like 3-2 Newcastle. I think it'll be something like that. And I'm worried. Again, I'm very, very worried as someone that doesn't have Almiron or Wilson. Southampton, Brighton. I think that'll be relatively low scoring, but I think Brighton will win. I'll say 2-0. 3-0. 3-0 Brighton. 2-0, 3-0 Brighton. Aston Villa, Liverpool. I'm going to go 3-1 Liverpool. Arsenal, West Ham. Like I said, I think Arsenal keep a clean sheet, but I don't think they get that many goals here. I'm going to go 2-0 Arsenal tonight. Chelsea, Bournemouth. Chelsea, Bournemouth. I'm going to go 2 or 3-0 probably. Bournemouth might nick a goal, though. Bournemouth might nick a goal. Man United, Forest. I'm going to back Man United. Do I think we'll keep a clean sheet? I've got to back it like 3-4-0 because I've got triple Man United as well. So let's say 3 or 4-0. Then Leeds City, I think City will batter them. Let's say 4-0. I predicted a lot of clean sheets there. I think I'm biased by my FPL team. I think Newcastle Leicester will be a shock, like 1-0 Newcastle. Maybe. Were you always bald? Not trolling, just asking, by the way. Yeah, no worries. I've always had thin hair. So even when I was like a baby, I've had very thin hair. And then about 18, 19, my hairline went quite bad. And then at 21, I shaved my head completely because it was getting much worse. And yeah, now I'm relatively bald. So yeah, pretty much always. It never looked good for me. My dad's bald. And I had like even like the women in my family have got like super fine hair. So I was really bullish on the Sun. He's always had a fantastic second half of the season. I genuinely think Son could be the sort of player that we suddenly want in our teams very, very soon. I have Mount. Should I be worried? I don't think so. I think you're fine. Right, guys. I know it's slightly earlier than I usually end, but it's Boxing Day, and my family are all just chilling. And it'd be quite nice to go over and spend some time with them. So I think I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for tuning in to the first stream back. It's been absolutely ridiculously fun. I didn't expect this many people to be here, but it's been brilliant. And fingers crossed our teams do relatively well in Game Week 17. And I'll be back very soon for Game Week 18 and 19. We've got 3 game weeks in the space of about a week. I will try and do a deadline stream for all of them. We'll see how it goes. I'll definitely try and get some streaming for all of them. But yeah, should have a deadline stream for 18 and 19. Then we've got a bit of a break before Game Week 20. So thank you very much for being here. I love you all very much. I appreciate you. And enjoy the rest of your Boxing Day. And good luck for Game Week 17. Cheers, guys.